What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Logic Bomb Podcast, episode 22. And we've got a full house today. There's 5 of us here. You're missing our pretty little overlay because we're actually doing this on a different setting due to accommodate all the talent that we have on screen right now. Joining us in this episode is Interro Parker McKay and Troy Canadian. What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Thanks for joining us.
What's up? Doing good. How about yourself?
Hello. I'm well.
So
well. This is the high energy podcast.
Best intro ever.
Obviously, we're looking forward to talking to you guys, and we would love to have you guys on the podcast anytime. But you guys are actually kicking off your own podcast. We wanted to bring you on and give you the opportunity to express to our audience, what you're doing on your end, and go over your podcast, which is called 6 on 6. You can explain that, but let me just tell everybody right from the get-go here. We'll have links down in the description. If you want to go follow them on their outlets, please do that. If you're looking for more Rainbow Six Siege content in the podcast format, then I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So with that said, 6 on 6. What is it, guys?
Sorry. We are on opposite ends of the continent. Please proceed.
No, I was saying you go.
Oh, I was going to say you go then.
I can feel the chemistry already.
See,
it's a Canadian thing.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Right. We're only 2 episodes in, so as you can tell, we really have a good rhythm. No, it's a competitive minded podcast. It's one that I had actually discussed way back doing with Bacon. Of course, of your org, Flanked.
Mm-hmm.
And he had expressed some reservations about timing and all that jazz. Troy and I had floated the idea as well, but I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's busier in competitive Rainbow Six than Troy is. So, it just kind of came about, I don't know, a month or so ago, and he said, "You know what? I'm gung ho. Let's do it. I'm down." And I said, "Okay, we can set this in motion and just kind of fly by the seat of our pants." And that's what we've been doing so far.
You got off to a hell of a start there.
Yeah.
The Fabian episode was a must-watch, Troy. That was absolutely fascinating viewing that. Absolutely. Just to have the 2 IGLs that went head-to-head and formed such a large part of the backstory of the esports scene, it was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed making that one. That's that's kind of why I wanted to make it. Actually, tell you why I randomly out of nowhere was to Parker. I was like, all right, let's do this. I think I was just browsing Twitter. I think it was when the Last Dance documentary came out for Michael Jordan. And then I saw someone tweet we need more of these kind of things in esports to give more insight into the competitive players and stuff like that. And then I'm a big esport documentary fan. The True Sight series from Dota, I love them. They're cracked because it gives you the inside kind of image to a team during a grand finals of the international. It's amazing to watch, and I love that. I learned so much from it. So just thinking I want to give insight into a pro player's mind, and I know that's not a thing that we always have in podcasts, at least. We have it on some people's streams if someone asks the right question, but I know Parker will ask the right questions, and we'll have the right discussions and all that. Also, I know I get along with Parker, and we'll have a good time. And I know that we'll also be able to get a lot of good guests because we know all the people in the scene. We're friends with everyone in the scene because we see them every other month or something. So yeah, that was basically it. I got the inspiration from seeing something about The Last Dance, someone saying we need more stuff like that in esports, and I was like, I think podcast would be a good idea. And then that Fabian one was basically what I had in mind. So yeah.
Are you guys going to try to have guests every week, or are you just going to play it by ear?
I mean, the idea is to bring on different perspectives as much as we can. I mean, I'm sure you guys have encountered this as well, that there are weeks where it just doesn't seem like there's anything really pertinent to talk about. And that's why we bring on a guest, is because there might be 1 or 2 topics that need to be discussed that are relevant, but overall there hasn't been much that's happened in the community for the previous 7, 8, 9, 10 days that warrants a proper discussion where it's just Troy and I. So I think that's partially the reason, but it's also because one thing that Troy touched on is, he wants more documentary style stuff. When we bring on a guest, we don't even need to talk about any discussion points. We can just talk about them. And that was the thing with Fabian. Most of what we discussed with Fabian had nothing to do with relevant Rainbow Six. It was, hey, let's talk about G2. Hey, let's talk about Penta. Let's talk about your theories on, how you call in game. What is leadership? What about the rosters? Where you go from here? We got him to let his armor down. We saw it when he talked about Shas and how emotional he got. We saw it when he talked about, the thinking behind and owning up to the comments that were made at the Raleigh Major on stage that, got him media banned or whatever else. And those are things that I think people want to discuss is the person behind the monitor. And you don't get to see that, and it's humanizing to a certain extent. And, having watched virtually all of your podcasts as well, going back to Hop Reach and now here to Logic Bomb, you do the same thing. You bring on people that are content creators, Ubisoft employees / devs, streamers, et cetera. And you show a side of them that humanizes them, which I think is really important because we don't really have a lot of personalities in Rainbow Six, whether it's because they just aren't that interesting or they haven't gotten a lot of screen time. That's a debate that I think still needs to be settled. So let's give them some screen time and see if they end up being interesting in the process.
It's such an important thing to have those conversations while not playing as well. It's very, very different if you're sitting there playing the game and then chatting with someone, right? And then to disconnect and sit down with people and have those chats, because you can't do the same in a stream while playing. It's not going to be the same conversations or as deep. I think it's pretty good that we get to see these real sides of people.
It's like, what are the interviews that we've had so far? Other than written press around events, you have, you'll pull a couple players, you'll sit them down in front of a background. This happens at Six Invitational most frequently. And then you've got, the Score will do an article, or maybe ESPN will do an article, et cetera. And it's really short. It's never long form content, and it's never designed to be a significant investment into getting to know the player. And I mean, there's a couple different avenues that, you can do this in esports, but our scene just across the board really lacks shoulder content. There's no real news organizations that write about our matches. There's no real dedicated news organization that keeps track of our scene, drama behind the scenes, casting talent, the regionalization, the players, roster moves, et cetera. There's nobody that really breaks it down. You've got Reaper, who's been doing a bang up job with his videos, breaking down different bomb sites and the way that different teams attack, et cetera. But even then, that's really specific. That's not very broad. It's I'll look at a specific map, I'll look at a specific matchup, and I'll dive into it. That's his focus. It's excellent work, but it's not bigger than that, and it doesn't focus on the players. And I mean, the Score's been doing it a little bit here and there, but the Score isn't just a Rainbow Six only outlet. And then Siege GG does it, but I mean, Siege GG is I think most people would probably agree is decently understaffed, and their focus is more on the stats, not on the human aspect of it. So I figured, if we can just kind of keep a keen eye on everything that's happening competitive wise, and we're going to be bringing in content creators as well. So it would be nice to have the three of you join us on our show as our three guests, but it's always going to have a focus on top level play, competitive play, and giving our perspective through that lens on what the game looks like.
I think that's
I'll tell you
needed.
what. Yeah, I do. I do. I think it's brilliant. But to be fair, Flank, you've done the Pro and the Potato now for how long? I mean, to be fair, that sort of long form content and introducing the casual player base to the pro scene.
Yeah, but honestly, that slowed down a lot, and partly my fault, but also, whenever I started on the Pro and Potato, the demands on the pros were completely different than what they are. The pros are so busy now, as I'm sure Troy can attest to, that getting a pro to sit down for an hour isn't as easy as it used to be. And that's so the Pro and Potato, thank you for mentioning that, Pete, but it's slowed down a lot. Since then, I used to try to do 1 to 2 a month, and I'm nowhere near that now. So
there is a niche though, like Parker was saying, for a content creator to spring up that just does the not long form content. It's sort of like 10, 15-minute videos, but just talking about what is going on in the scene each week. What
Caliber
the news
Jacob,
stories are.
I think Caliber Jacob is starting to kind of do that, and he's making a name for himself in that realm. I would say that's one that sticks out to me. But I agree with you, Pete.
Yeah, we need a few more people doing that. Maybe former pros, just people that want to provide analysis, opinion, and that aren't sort of like shy about actually saying really how they feel. Because it's not interesting viewing if you just give sort of like worthless platitudes. If you really feel strongly about it, that's what's going to really create an audience for you.
There's definitely a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask Troy kind of a weird question. Go ahead. I want to ask it, but continue on with your thought.
I was just going to say there's definitely a ton of like history and stories from events, like just players and I mean Troy's nodding. He knows when people sit down and talk about stuff at events, some of that should be shared. I mean, some of it definitely shouldn't.
Yeah.
But some of it should be shared. There are so many cool stories that are. Like, we have so many new people coming in that we'll never know.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I want to do it. And like it was an example in that podcast with Fabian. It's like I know that stuff because I've sat down and talked with Fabian. Like the thing we mentioned, both of us talked to each other before we left our teams. Like I talked to him before I left EG and joined SSG, asked him for his opinion. When he was leaving G2, like literally right after the match, I was like the first. Me and him talked in the lobby, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave. I think I'm in the same situation as you." And we had that same conversation, but like no one knows about that stuff. And I think that the fact that I'm a pro or like Parker's at all the events, like we're there for all of it. So we have more insight and kind of know like better things to ask in that sense. I also want to touch on what P was saying, where I think like someone making like a daily kind of channel like that is important. But I do think, like you said, like a former pro would be ideal for it because I mean, like me as a pro, I get frustrated when I see someone like doing that and they're like spewing bullshit.
Right.
It drives me crazy because I'm like this guy's like saying this like it's fact and like everyone's buying it, but it's like complete bullshit. I'm gonna be honest. I'm actually gonna call out Caliber Jacob. I've talked to him and called him out on this, but like he was trashing EG and it was pissing me off. Like just trashing them.
That tweet was so not smart.
Like absolutely trashing them. Like one time, like he complimented me when I won the Invitational, and he was like, "Finally, he's on a team that actually wants to win." And I was like, "Come on, like those are my best friends." And I didn't even leave them because they didn't want to win. Like I don't think it would have worked anymore. I think our time ran its course. That was it. But so I'm not a fan of that. I spoke to him about it. I do think he wants to change that because he did say like he didn't. I think he was affected by the fact that I felt offended. So I do think he's going to try to prove and change on that. But I mean,
to be fair,
it's an important thing to have like a former pro.
I mean, I don't know. I can defend Caliber Jacob a little bit in the sense that like he's probably trying to be entertaining. One of the easiest ways to really like grab a hold of people is to be very sharp. You know what I mean? And I've always said as a content creator, the last thing I want is for people to have no reaction to my content at all. I would rather have like a poor reaction than no reaction at all. Now that doesn't mean that you say lies. That doesn't mean that you mislead. But to be fair, I mean, EG had a pretty rough season. I mean, that doesn't mean that I would feel comfortable coming on a mic and being like, EG's garbage. Like, I think that's crossing the line. But I don't know.
Okay, so to add on to it, like I completely understand that. Here's the problem that I have with it. So I like how I had the conversation with him. He like I think we were doing the CCS, the DBNO charity stream, and like it said that I like some other account got banned by BattleEye, and he's like, oh my, or no, there's like a thing in custom match where like your game will crash and it'll say removed by BattleEye. And that happened on the stream to me. And then he tweeted, like, Canadian got banned by BattleEye. And I replied and I said, I've seen a lot of dumb shit from this Twitter account, but this might take the cake. Right? And the thing is, though, is for the whole entire night, he was, like, freaking out. He's like, why are people attacking me? But, like, my point is that if you're going to say shit that might piss pros off or people off, you have to be able to take it. Like if
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
going to say edgy things like that, like someone is going to call you out. Someone's not going to like it. Like cuz you're going to be offending someone. Like that's just how it is, but you have to be able to take it. You have to have thick skin.
Yeah,
Um,
and
That's almost the bigger problem. Is it's honestly fine to throw a bit of shade as long as it's not meant as an actual insult or to hurt people. There's nothing wrong with throwing a little bit of shade, even if you might be wrong, because it might be what you believe is right.
oh,
but
completely.
Yeah, you got to be able to take it.
Yes.
That's the big one. Like if you're talking loud on Twitter and someone gives back, you know what? Better have fun. Like
Yeah.
Stand your ground.
I kind of talked to him about this because, you know, I remember very distinctly when that happened. And I mean, that was like third strike saying something stupid about Troy/EG. And I was just like, this is not going to end well. Like he'd done the tweet earlier about how, you know, when EG finally broke up or got kicked out of Pro League or whatever it was, he said something like,
I know
an
the
era,
words.
yeah, like an era of mediocrity or acceptable mediocrity masquerading as failure or something like that. And it's like, you're literally talking about the second best team that has probably ever played in this game. Like in any other era, EG is winning every single event that Penta/G2 was winning. So like, I don't know how you can make that. Like I get hot takes and then there's hot takes and then there's like baked potato in a microwave brain takes. And like, that's what it was to me. Like, you know, and I just, that is not a correct thing to say. And it's like, Troy knows more than anybody. I have been very vocally critical of EG, in part because of my friendship with Troy and because I think it's funny to poke at the good teams. If EG was genuinely a bad team, I wouldn't be saying a lot of the things I said. But anyway, I spoke with Jacob very briefly and I talked to him at the time and I said, if you're going to dish out hot takes, if you're going to be a Stephen A. Smith, if you're going to be a Skip Bayless, you need to adopt that persona wholeheartedly. You can't just say outrageous things and then get offended when people say outrageous things back to you, right? Like there's very much a role in every community for somebody who's just going to say dumb stuff. Like that's there. It generates content. You don't need to believe it, but it gets people talking. And I'm almost positive that there are, you know, brainlets out there who genuinely think EG was a bad team and they love to hear that because it obviously gets them involved. And who cares? You're catering to an audience, right? But then you can't turn around and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry I upset you." Like, no. You're the BDS takes it guy. Like you're the guy that went in and did an entire video that like riled up Liquid fans and talked about how BDS was going to win the whole damn thing. And it's like, man, if you want to be a hot take machine, be it. But you got to double down. You got to go into that like oafish personality that's just doesn't listen to reason or logic and just spews things. And that's fine. I think that's entertaining and we could use it because it presents a new viewpoint. But you got to be consistent. And you can't spend the rest of the night, as Troy said, like almost pouting, being like, I didn't mean to offend somebody. I didn't want somebody's feelings to be hurt. Just say stuff and then back it up or don't, but at least be consistent.
Dude, go on Twitter, find someone called Keemstar and take some notes. If you
No,
want to
please.
be,
We don't need more
if you
people.
want to be
Oh,
that
jeez.
caricature,
How did we get to the point where we're shouting out Keemstar on this podcast? Please explain to me.
No.
I think we're
Holy
heading down
cow.
a dark road.
yeah,
now.
I know.
We are
Jeez.
canceled now.
Let me
What I
ask
like
you.
about
Go ahead, Pete.
Sorry, just really quickly what Troy was saying. We do need a sort of foreign type figure. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Foreign, you know, that type
foreign,
figure.
yeah.
That would be cool. But so you could have the guy that come. And I'm not saying this is Caliber Jacob because I'm not familiar with his content. But you could have the people that have the spurious type news, and then you could have the deeper analysis as well. You could have all different types of creators, and it's just cool because it fleshes out the scene of which your podcast is one of those many sort of facets of what it could be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
I agree.
sorry, yep, that's it. That's my point.
One of the things, like,
Yeah, sorry for.
well, I know, like, one of the things, like, thinking about from my perspective, and that I think along these lines, like, I agree with what you guys are saying, but it could hold back the community a little bit, is like, for me, if I want to make a statement about what I think is going wrong with a team or with Pro League in general or something like that, I can make this statement, and a pro can come over the top and be like, well, you don't have any idea because you're not on the team or you don't actually know what's going on. And I can never trump that. I can, no matter if I'm right or wrong, there is nothing I can say to overcome that.
Hold up. Aren't you a backup for DZ?
Stop. But that's always going through my mind whenever like if I feel like they're like, if you look at ESPN or whatever, any other sport out there or whatever, you do have these Monday morning quarterbacks that are a huge portion of the interest in the game that really help grow the game. If I one of the things that prevents me from Monday morning quarterbacking a little bit more is that I know the pros are going to see this and they can just shut me down like that because I don't really know. But where do you find that balance?
Well,
Make
yes
the
and no.
arguments in
Like,
good faith.
That's not even important. If you criticize someone but they aren't willing to correct you, just saying that's not true doesn't really do that much. Like, maybe you don't have a comeback for it, but if they aren't willing to explain it, then no one can fault you for at least trying to share your opinion. Right? Not everyone all the time has to give their opinion on everything. That it's not that important. But people can't be mad at you for guessing or estimating something if they aren't willing to help correct it. Like, that's a little bit of a difficult one. And if you're criticizing a team, it depends on if you're trying to hold them accountable to what you think they're capable of, or if you're just being rough on them. Right? If someone has a bad performance, like Empire, for example, they were insane and looked so terrifying. And all of a sudden, it doesn't look that terrifying anymore to other teams. That, like, there's nothing wrong with mentioning that maybe doing the same thing over and over and not changing things up or taking a bit more risks isn't really gonna last that long. It was a good run, but you're gonna have to do something new now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of the fans don't like hearing that, but unless there's a response from the team, it's hard to not throw some guesses out there, right?
Yeah. To me, it's just how you approach it. I see a lot of people who aren't familiarized with the scene who give their opinions as fact. And I mean, that's something that I think everybody does, is that when you're given a platform, A, you think that your own opinions are right, and then B, it's reinforced by all the praise that you're going to get for having that platform. So you just become, even great, your opinions become even more cemented and I'm right. Everything I say is right. I am a voice of authority. And that's one of the things that I always have to consciously keep myself in check on, is like, don't talk like you know everything. And I have that battle every single time I open my mouth, where it's just like, I need to consistently keep in mind that, hey, there is probably another reason for why things are happening, whether it be on a team or whether it be with a player and so on and so forth. And it's, the point that Troy made earlier is that, I and Troy, for the most part, we're at almost every event. And it's like, you get to see who is going out for drinks and dinner with which teams, who do they hang out with behind the scenes? How do they talk when they've had a drink or two? Does it change? Do their real opinions come out about their team, about, the chemistry, about the game, et cetera, and the way that, that they play and whether they want to stick around. So don't try to act like you know everything. And I find that a lot of the smaller content creators and a lot of Twitter accounts, they do tweet like they have all the answers. And like, going back to what we said, that's fine if that's the persona you want to assume. But if you don't want to be that, then, as was pointed out, engage in good faith. Say, hey, there's probably a very real reason why this is happening. Maybe it's not as black and white as, hey, EG didn't want to win, period, and Troy did. Like, it's obviously not that cut and dry. Sometimes it is, sure. Maybe approach it in a different way, because then it gives you covering fire. And this has happened before. I'll bring up a specific example. We've had people in the scene be like, so-and-so is the hardest working player or is the most deserving player. And Troy knows exactly what I'm talking about, because he and I had a conversation about this, and it was somebody else in the scene who said it. And I basically said, the way that I get around this, because everybody jumped on that person being like, I know X player that is actually harder working. You get around it by saying is one of the hardest workers. And then that gives you covering fire, right? Like, I can very easily say, like, Troy is one of the handsomest people in all of Pro League. And then people are going to be like, yeah, but Zeronic is handsome too. And it's like, yeah, but that's why I said one of the, because it gives you that covering fire. So I think it's really it's about understanding your platform and understanding how you speak and leaving it open to a discussion. If you're going to close off the discussion, be ready to get piled on and defend your position to the death. If you don't want that, then don't put yourself in a position where you're closed off from, outside opinions.
Agreed. Like flanked in the what you were saying, basically. Like, I even say this when I talk about other teams, and like I am a pro player, but I even say like, hey, like my perspective, like I said about G2, I was like, I thought that their issue was like they kind of strayed away from their old like trade focused play style, and that they were playing a bit too solo. But that was my opinion outside looking in. Like you don't hear their comms, you don't know like what it's like between teammates. So like I just always say like that's my opinion outside looking in. They would know better than me because they would. And I think like Parker said, you have to include that like if it's in your mind. But yeah, I think if you don't include that, like you have to be ready for what's coming your way.
You're going to get slammed, boy.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing at events, though, right?
Which is entertaining.
Like
Pardon me?
teams looking at each other, trying to figure out what the issue is with the other team. There is a different opinion from every team about every team. Like, why is this not working? And the only like base consensus for everything in Siege, pretty much, at least I feel like, is that it is almost the rarest thing if a player gets removed or from performance. It is almost never performance related when people get removed. So when Twitter loses their mind and go, oh, this guy's getting removed because he's not doing good enough, it is very rare that that's the case, that it is because he's not hitting enough shots or because there was a better aimer just around the corner. There's normally way more to those stories. And I think that's fair to say without stepping on anyone's toes, but no one is getting, or at least it's rare, that anyone gets yeeted for pure performance.
100%. I mean, like that's if you're playing the game as a team, like that's how if your team is playing bad, people are going to do bad, even if that player isn't necessarily doing bad. Like our team, for example, when we were playing like our best, every day in scrims it was like the big three of Bosco, Fultz, and Rampy, like insane stats. And then me and Nade, like one of us might do good on a map, but otherwise we're chilling. Like me and Nade would just chill. We wouldn't get many kills. We'd end the night, like in our scrims, we'd end the night negative or even. The other guys would be like plus 20 on the night. That's like 4 maps. But then like when we started to struggle a bit, like meta was changing, we were starting to struggle a bit, like we've recovered now and all that, but like we were starting to struggle a bit, and it was just like those big three, all of a sudden it was like one, maybe two of them a night would do good. And all of a sudden I started doing better like every day. I'm telling you right now, I wasn't playing better. We were playing worse. I could get frags now because they weren't getting frags.
Yeah,
and the only reason
places where you had to.
Yeah, and the only reason they weren't getting frags is because we as a team were playing bad. It had nothing to do with just them. Like we were as a team were in the wrong positions to get the frags. So like there's always way more to it. It's not performance based. It's usually like something as a teammate or as a person. I will say some teams do work different. Some teams are a lot less structured and will look at performance, but it depends on the team.
Fabian said the same thing, just to touch on that really briefly. There was that one season where G2 wasn't doing well and Fabian was like their second best player. And even he said, the only reason why I'm doing well is because the rest of the team is playing like very poorly. You know, and I always think back to Astralis on this one, is they've got the player Zipix, who's, you know, the clutch minister. Everybody knows this guy's a tremendous player, but he's not one of their entries in CSGO. But there are always tournaments where it's always really, really tight. Whenever Astralis struggles against a team, Zipix always shows up. Why is that? Because the other teams are shutting down Glaive or Device or whomever is working as the entry, and then Zipix is still there to pick up the pieces. And the same thing I think applied a lot to G2 was that Uno was having issues, Kanto was having issues. You know, if Pengu's not having a big game, then he's kind of quiet in the background. Fabian is showing up because he's playing relatively safe operators, and nobody else on the team is pulling their weight because they're either being hard countered, shut down, or they're tilted. So it's like his stats look good, but they're largely impactless stats because they're not actually adding, and it's just masking what is a step backwards for the team, as Troy said.
It's so difficult when you're looking at a competitive game and you see one player that's normally a star player, or at least super impactful. If he isn't performing, like just from a top-down view, you can't tell, is that guy just playing bad today, or is he getting bad info? Is that it? Like, is the morale in the team just not confident, or are they not confident enough? Doesn't he take the fights? He's trying to play too safe, right? But it's normally, or it's really rare that it's that player. It's something in the team. Sure, you can have a bad day, but most teams don't have an issue if one player has a bad day. Like, it has almost no impact if there's one player on a team having a bad day. So it's more in defense to the quarterback or Couch quarterbacks when they get too edgy with the criticism of like one player. It's
Yeah.
it's a way bigger pot than that.
Well, I think, I want to come back to some of this Pro League talk because there's a lot of news as far as we have the groups for the U.S. division. The talent lineup was announced for both U.S. and Europe, which Zoronic, I mean, we have a few people here. I mean, Parker is going to be part of the U.S. Division. Zoronic's going to be part of the European division. Obviously, Troy's competing. So I want to come back to that. But we did have Operation Steel Wave drop today. And I want to talk about that a little bit. If that's okay with you guys, because there were some changes that weren't in the test server. Melusi, her gadget got nerfed. The area of effect is reduced by 33%, I believe is the number. And Ace's gadget got nerfed in that you can no longer throw it on a roof and destroy a bandit charge that would be above that roof. So that's a little bit of a nerf to both of those operators. Nerfs that I agree with, not necessarily the direction I saw it going. As far as any other changes, not really anything in the patch notes I think that jumps out to me that wasn't in the test server prior. But beyond that, I mean, all types of new content, reworked house, Amaru buff, some changes to, Echo and other individual operators. Operation Steel Wave thoughts, gentlemen.
There's a gadget change as well to Melusi coming, not on release, but it's coming in the next patch, right? Or is that on release? The Nitro Cell instead of Shield.
That's in now. I played today.
So
and so is the reduction of the thing. The 5.2.1 or whatever it's called is the one that's live now. Just a correction for the Ace thing. You can still throw them below and destroy above. You can't throw them on the same plane and destroy on the other side.
Okay.
So on Villa, for example,
Gotcha.
where you place them in front, they don't get it with shrapnel now on the other side. I think that's the intent at least.
Okay.
I liked that interaction. I thought that was really cool. I wanted to ask Troy a question about Melusi and the shield, because firstly, do you welcome that change to the Nitro Cell for Melusi?
I mean, I'm not against her. I had a big talk about this on our first episode. I don't think there's a good gadget to give her. I think there's so many good defender gadgets that it's a problem. Like there isn't a bad defender gadget. The worst one is the proximity alarm. Next worst is barbed wire. Barbed wire is pretty good. Like, so yeah, I feel like if you want to really nerf her, you kind of actually have to give her like proximity alarm and like barbed wire or something. But her having a shield is ridiculous in my opinion. Just because we don't need more indestructible stuff. Like, we don't need more stuff to destroy on attack. It's tough right now. It is
There would
tough.
also be four things you have to
Yes.
throw
Yeah.
on one operator.
I'm telling you, it's
that's
already
Goyle.
so tough, and she isn't in the game. If you bring her in and now she has 4 things you have to destroy, oh my god.
Are
Like,
you
I'm
happy with the Nitro Cell? Happier with the Nitro Cell then, even if it's like 1%
Yes.
happier?
Yes.
Because I think it suits. I feel, from my point of view anyway, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the casual community, but I am happier with the Nitro Cell. Because I feel, from sort of casual perspective, I can pull off more cool things as a solo queuer. Like, I can set shit up so that I can overhear when people are within a certain radius, and I can do shit with that Nitro Cell that I probably couldn't do with the Shield. So it might be a really clever little tweak that the pros are slightly happier about, it would seem, Troy, and
Yep.
it totally suits the casual people, in my opinion. Because, you've got this cool little thing that you can do when you're solo queuing or just playing with, like, one person.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you think it might change the meta a little bit, though, having this extra Nitro Cell defender, like, with regards to what role that person plays? Like, you might play a mirror or something.
I'm not sure. I don't think that usually plays too much of an effect, like your positioning with a nitro. There's like some sites, but honestly, it's kind of fallen out of meta where like there's sites where you play like strictly plant denial. So I don't think it should mess with like her position too much. I also think with the operators on the table that like you would bring with her, probably in a competitive aspect at least. Like, I think the ideal like lineup with her in the game on defense is like Jaeger, Wamai, Smoke, her, and Maestro.
That sounds
I know it's
like
no,
such
it's
a
horrible.
nightmare.
It's horrible.
Oh god.
It's a horrible
Her having
lineup.
Her having
You
Nitro is
started with
terrifying,
Jaeger,
though.
am I?
Because there are places where if the whoop whoop is placed, you can throw a C4 and there is no way for you to get out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is not possible.
Yeah.
It's like the old Elamine trick where you Elamine so people couldn't turn around to run, and then
Mhm.
you guarantee the C4.
Yeah.
There is no way you get out of it.
And the vertical
No.
element as well.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It's very dodgy vertical, though.
Yeah.
Just
I
make
would
your
say-
gadgets not bulletproof, please. I beg you.
Yes.
Just please.
What?
Do that.
Make her
H3.
gadgets not be bulletproof. No, it's enough bulletproof gadgets. Please, please,
I like it so like,
please.
and I think you should be able to throw them like Parker.
We talked
suggested
about
this. Yeah. Like if you do that so that you can kind of hide them, but they can be used in certain places still, but then they can be dealt with after. But
What if they had some
right
sort
now,
of like the three different corners? You had to shoot those three, just so it's not just bulletproof.
yeah, I mean that's even fine, just so that it's like it takes a bit more time. But yeah, bulletproof, please no.
I had
That
somebody
might
mention
suck on console though.
I suggested just making them bulletproof and throwable so that somebody could like jiggle peek through a door and just shoot it quickly if they wanted to. I'm
I
tired
just
of
don't
bulletproof
like
gadgets,
the-
please.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also don't like the idea of like watching a pro player in competitive looking around the entire like everything. So proximity on his left and Elamine top right. There's a Valkyrie cam at the end of the hall. Like I don't want people just spinning around.
Oh.
At some
Bring an
point,
IQ,
I just
man.
want to watch them fight. Yeah, Thatcher.
Oh, that's a you
It's
know,
true,
okay.
but, like,
so go ahead, Troy.
We don't fight anyways because we're just throwing fucking flashbangs and shit, trying to clear magnets and ADSs, and then halfway through flashing it 9 fucking times, we get shot in the face by a guy behind a shield. We don't even get the shield, and it's like, well, guess we just gotta run in and die now.
We need an attacking operator with one of those 6-drum grenade launchers that do almost no damage.
Yes,
So you can go in and like flump, 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 take out all the shields.
yes.
That would be a top tier operator.
Like I'm
I know we joke around, but even just having an operator that has like Zophia's concussion part, that all it does is it's got like 6 shots and they're projectiles. They do no damage. They don't disorient you, nothing. You just shoot, and if it goes off, you know somebody's there. I think that's a suitable operator. Like, and it's crazy when you think about it because it's like Zophia's got that. She got 2 of those, and they concuss you, and then she's got 2 explosives as well, and then she can will herself back to life.
Breaching charges.
It's just
as
like,
an
okay,
option, you know.
okay. She's got too much.
So let me play devil's advocate a little bit, Troy, because you mentioned what was that ideal lineup you mentioned again? I'm sorry.
Lucy,
Jaeger.
Maestro, Wamai, Jaeger, Smoke.
Okay.
So that's
Big thing that jumps
Lucy
out.
doesn't have-
Big thing that jumps out to me there is you have no wall denial. So and I know, so okay, you need to deny a wall now. So you're gonna obviously throw a bandit or a Kate in there. And now let's say that maybe one of those operators banned. I mean, I guess I don't know. There's really no defense. That's I'm trying. I'm reaching
We
here.
have 4 shields.
I'm reaching here.
You don't need to deny a wall. You got a shield to deny. Like you put all the stuff in front of the shield so that they can't get it. I don't know.
Would
They get the wall open, and then you're behind a shield. And now
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
2 ADSs, there's 3 WMIs, and you're getting sapped.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
whoop.
And that's the thing is even if you deal with that shield, like you still have to deal with like a bubble on the site, like where they have full vision of you now. It's a lot.
I do think
Do you not think we're going to see teams start ignoring the... I don't know if it's viable. Some maps it definitely is, but instead of going from the best attack route, go from the complete opposite just because all the utility is facing one way mainly.
Yeah.
Cafe top floor. Like, honestly, cocktail take full on. It's limited how much utility you can have there, right?
Yep.
Compared to trying to take piano and all of that stuff.
The only thing with the cocktail take is that you basically have to run buck.
Yep.
Or you have to have enough explosives to deal with not having a buck.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes a bit problematic. And also because if they hear the buck, they know what you're doing, right? And if you know the team's doing a cocktail take, it's actually a lot easier to play around because you can start more roamers instead. I find that cocktail takes are a lot easier, like when the other team doesn't know. If they only start like one guy roaming, really, it's a lot easier to clear and get the map control. But when people start like running 2 guys downstairs, they kill your pre-placed drones, like hide in the kitchen. That's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So I do think though, like
I mean, you'd have to run a mid round though. Like you'd have to decide after drone phase. You can't prep into it.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to bring the buck, and then bringing buck isn't that useful on other sites because he only brings flashbangs, doesn't bring any explosives, which you almost can't, like, other than IQ and hard breach, it feels like you can't afford to not bring explosives.
Yeah,
almost now. Like that's how it feels now playing in this Wamai meta.
Yeah,
it's very hard to not bring explosive.
I'm at the point where it's like just give every operator like a mini secondary launcher that just has like 2 small impacts. I'm at that point. I'm at that point where it's just like just give everybody the ability to blow up something that's bulletproof. If you're gonna put so many bulletproof gadgets in the game, I don't care.
This
Give
sounds
everybody like
crazy.
a mini Ash launcher. I don't think it's that crazy.
This sounds crazy. What if flashes had a explosive property to them and could actually destroy?
They kind of do.
Yeah.
Not
But what if a flash would destroy a deployable shield?
Or, like 2 flashes, maybe.
Yeah.
Like it did enough.
So you have the Kelly explosion. They could use that explosion on something else as well. I'd be fine with legitimately giving attackers like a flare gun pistol instead of their pistol. They could choose to have this like little flare gun 40mm pistol, and you can shoot out these like Kelly looking things.
Yeah.
And you only get one. Like being able to remove 1 shield or 1 maestro and still having your flashbangs is pretty damn big.
Yes.
And you're in a really bad spot if you ever have to pull your secondary out.
Yeah.
Because it's a one-shot. It's a massive downside, but helps you clear stuff out. So at least that could potentially be balanced.
It would help a lot. It would help a lot. I also think an obvious one is like Wamai shouldn't have a shield. It's like it makes way too much sense. Like he's like the perfect like protection for shields, and then he brings one with him. I don't
It's
like
fun
that.
though, because if you can have 2 shields, if 2 shields was the like likely max we'd ever see, it probably wouldn't be that bad. If there was only ever 2.
With that flare gun edition, I would.
Fair enough.
Honestly, the deployable shields with the mirror slits may go down as one of, I don't want to say the worst, but controversial changes that we've ever seen in this game.
Mira when she came out.
I like them. I just don't like how easy it is to protect. Like, I find them interesting to play with, and I mean, Mira's always banned, so like, I kind of like the idea of it, but it's so hard. It's so annoying to deal with. Like, because Thatcher's always banned too.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't EMP the ADSs. Like
that is a funny thing though. In Pro
sit there and throw flashes over and over again, and it's so dangerous.
That was funny to see with Theme Park. It was Ranger's tweet where he was very vocal about anger towards the whole 20-second meta, but they banned Thatcher and Ashe themselves and struggled with removing all the utility. It's fun that happens. That teams remove the things that help them the most to fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think we lost the Parker.
We did.
Rip.
I think that I just wanted to come back to what Parker and what you were saying, Alex. I think like it's absolutely inevitable at some stage there needs to be more in the game to remove utility, because it's like I said this to you maybe a couple of weeks ago about how like defenders keep coming along with more and more utility. It's just there's going to have to be a change of like a systematic change in the game as to how attackers' loadouts exist, because there's just more and more utility coming. And remember when we had this discussion, we were talking about like how it might help that there's only one operator coming every season, right? Because like obviously it might be an attacker or a defender, so it's slowing down that progress.
I mean, if you get stuck in this meta, if nothing changes now, players will change the meta eventually. It'll just take a long time for someone to either figure out a way to ignore it, because everyone always thinks that the current meta is the one that will never break and the best one, but eventually it always does. It would be nice if it's helped a little bit. I would hate to see us getting into something where every time a as some sort of stable meta evolves, it instantly gets forced out. Whether it's a good or a bad meta. I'd like to see the players mainly be the ones that dictate the meta and not the new operators or the gadgets. Like, if we get X thing added and it becomes played a lot, I'd like to see the evolution of players figuring out how to deal with it and remove it themselves.
That's more interesting to see. But do you think that, obviously, like you made that point about Ranger a moment ago, but like typically, do you think they always have the tools at their disposal to solve those problems? Like, obviously, your idea of the flare gun. Sometimes the devs have to step in and say, "All right, we need to give you a few more things to make this job a bit easier for you, and just to help you along your way."
But I think if you look at Dota or League, things come out that are seen as being absolutely useless, and all of a sudden they get pulled out in the biggest tournament ever, and change the game forever, or at least do some sort of fancy thing. I think we're gonna see stuff like that as well in Siege if things just kept going forever, and nothing changed from today. We'd probably eventually see Fuse. We'd probably eventually see no Heartbreach meta, something like that. Like, weird things would happen because some team is gonna go out there and be not really care about what the rules are, and then try to make something completely new. Right now, at least in the lower tiers, what a lot of teams are doing is they're looking at the top tier teams, what they do, and then they try to see if they can do it the same way they do, which is not really the way to improve, right? You want to find out how you beat them, not how you play like them. And I think that's a really weird circle we have in Siege that is at least a little bit more rare in strategy games. People don't tend to try and copy as much. They try to find out how to beat. And I think we're a little sloppy in Siege when it comes to that. I still think the Consulate was probably the biggest, the biggest point to be made there with batteries on the wall. The fact that it took a full year for anyone Pro League to ever repel upside down and remove the batteries on Garage Wall is kind of impressive.
Impressive or embarrassing?
Impressive in a bad way.
Okay, I got you.
That it's a full year.
In NA, we did that before Pro League started. I remember Kush on Orbit. Oh, yeah, Kush on Orbit used to do it, and we didn't even have Pro League yet. I remember MVK telling me about it. He's like, "You Nerf, we found this game changing thing on console." It was like,
awesome.
Like, you won't even know, bro. He's like, never have to deal with Bandit on Garage again. Oh, really?
I think actually kitchen angle to the balcony. That's fairly new. At least we see it online.
Yes.
That's been in there forever as well, right? Like there's so many things where if we can have a map that is years old with almost no changes, and someone finds something where everyone's looking at it and go, "Wait, has that always been a thing?" Maybe I don't know. Maybe the game is too complex, or maybe we're a little too comfortable.
Let me ask you this on that subject, Alex. Honest question: do you take the spectator into account at all when you're talking about that meta? Because I agree with what you're saying. Like, no matter what, whoever figures it out most is going to be who wins, and to the victor go the spoils. But does it matter at all to you that the spectator may not enjoy watching pro players throw 3 flash grenades through a window, and then especially somebody who doesn't understand the nuance? Like, why are they doing that?
So that didn't really have anything to do with what I was mentioning. I was just mentioning that meta will.
I'm just saying, do you think that should be taken into account when we're looking at a meta?
That's the only thing that should be taken into account, because at the end of the day, I don't care if pro players enjoy playing at all. I care if viewers enjoy watching. That is the only metric we can measure a competition with or sport, is if people like watching. That might be hard or rough or whatever, but you could have a full set of Pro League teams that love the game and there's nothing better for them and they really enjoy it. If no one wants to watch it, it's no longer be a Pro League. Like, viewers are just the most important when it comes to a spectator sport. No one's going to be playing Pro League with no viewers.
I will say, though, if all the pro players are miserable playing the game,
the game's going to be less enjoyable.
Yeah, well, also, like, the fans aren't going to be fans of those pro players. Like, if I'm going in every interview and being like, I'm honestly just really sick of this fucking game. Like, I'm
We
sick.
can, see,
I
people
don't know
are
that
learning
was
something
fun
from
for a while.
sport there, though. That's a weird circle because we can learn something from that. The pro player should realize that them getting the fans on their side is a good thing.
No, I
And
agree.
scaring people away from the game that they're trying to make money playing is a bad thing.
I
Right?
agree. I mean,
there's a reason in real sport there are some limitations to what people can and can't do.
mhm.
I get it. I don't think it would ever, even if you do believe it, even if it was true, I don't think a player should ever go out and say, I hate playing this shit game.
yes, I agree.
That's a downhill thing. Like
I agree, but I think you're as aware as I am that
100%.
we got a lot of pros that will just keep on saying that. Like
Yeah.
they're even saying that, and like I don't even think. Like, listen, I'm not a huge fan of the meta, but I don't think the game is in that bad of a state. I don't. I'm scared it'll get worse. Melusi, scaring me because it's only adding on to the problem. That's my issue. It's
Yeah.
adding on to the problem that of like what defenders have, and it's not giving anything to attackers to deal with. And I guess like that's what I get scared about with the metas is that defenders get more and more stuff to stack with. Like I enjoyed like the mirror meta because it was nothing to stack. Like it was like you had Mira, and then like you would deal with the mirror window. But like when you're stacking before, it was like stacking vision with Valkyrie, Maestro, and Echo. Like if you're doing that, like that's a lot to deal with. Although I think at the time IQ actually had nades, so that was nice.
She did.
But then now you're stacking ADSs, magnets, shields, like indestructible gadgets, and then everything to intercept explosives. Like that becomes a problem. And then on top of that, I guess you brought a fair point. Like attackers could maybe get more creative with their lineups, but I feel like that. I guess that's kind of the problem is that attackers are almost like locked into what they have to bring. Like there's nothing that defenders have to bring, whereas
I agree.
there's stuff that attackers have to bring. Because there's some maps at least I think where you can't deal without a hard breach.
I'm not sure that's true. I know that sounds insane. But no, hear me out. If you don't hot breach anything, that leaves you open to do some more stuff. You can guarantee you can bring a shield. You can maybe attack more straight on faster, and if you do win your gunfight on that, you gain some ground that they can't take back. There aren't any open breaches, any of that stuff. It might sound insane, and it might take a long time. Maybe it's not viable. I just don't believe that things are so set in stone that there is no way they could be played without a hot breach. Like we know the basement can be won without hot breach because we've seen hot breaches get killed and teams still win rounds decisively, right?
What map?
Clubhouse basement.
Yeah.
Like you don't need it. It's nice to have, but it also forces you to take extra steps to get there. Like
I think
you
it
can't
depends
take
on
that
the
away.
map. But
Sure.
I do agree. I do agree though. Like it's definitely possible in some, and yeah, like you do have to take extra steps. But if you don't bring one, it does give you an extra op in the lineup. And a great example of that is Coastline. The utility meta, not a problem on Coastline because you don't bring a hard breach. You have your Ash, you have your Zoe, you have your nades, and then you have like two other operators with flashbangs, and then you're fine.
But have people tried this? Like, have you actually tried this in scrims?
I've seen
Or-
some teams on some maps mess without like hard breaches.
How does it
my
generally
team,
go?
not well.
Okay.
I mean, you
I've
did
seen-
a consulate take
I've-
without a hard breach, if you remember.
Yeah,
Back on AG.
consulate is possible on not garage. It definitely. And there's really good consulate teams that do mess with that. Like I know DZ actually does that when garage is locked. I think like Hot goes on to Twitch or something. So there's maps where it's possible, but like I've seen teams mess with no hard breach on Villa. It's worse, 100% worse. But that's I'd say one of the maps where like you could get away with it probably more than others. I've seen teams mess with it on Cafe. It seemed worse to me. Theme Park wasn't very good. I don't know. Clubhouse, it could be iffy. You could definitely do some takes without it if you're like very dedicated towards it, but I do think it would be bad on quite a few other sites.
I think the entire meta is set up to accept that things are being opened. All shields are placed towards reinforced walls or like the default entryways.
Yeah.
If you do run this and these things aren't being opened and you have that extra player, well, you basically have 2 extra players.
It's so easy to adapt to that though, like to move a shield.
Sure, but that's not going to happen mid-round when the doors are open and things are getting shot, right?
I
And it's
think
depending on that
my
then.
team would call that in prep phase, like or like literally after the first round. If we see no hard breach,
Well, you'd 6
I'd be
big out
calling it.
though.
You'd see them not running it like one round though. I don't know. Like, and it's very easy to pick up on initially. Like, for example, like if you run the gym setup on Clubhouse, like very quickly you can tell if they're getting the jacuzzi wall or
Yeah.
the server wall. And then if you see them coming in garage without getting the server wall, you're like, well, that's weird. And then the people in actual master and gym, they can move their stuff. So, I mean, I do think like it could punish a lot of teams, but like I think our team would react to it pretty well. I mean, I think there's probably some cases though where like you would 100% catch people off guard, but I don't think it could be a viable, consistent strategy at least. But yeah, and then also another point I wanted to add is you mentioned Ranger like complaining about the Thatcher ban. The Thatcher ban thing, like I hate Thatcher ban. My
I
team
hate
bans
Thatcher bans as well. They make watching the game so miserable.
My team bans Thatcher a lot, I will say, but I hate Thatcher ban. But one of the problems is that to get practice, you have to play a Thatcher ban because everyone bans Thatcher. So then you don't practice without a Thatcher ban because every team is banning Thatcher.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams are lazy and won't commit to like learning both. Like we try to learn both, but sometimes you just don't get as much practice because who knows, your scrim partner just bans Thatcher. And then like what can you do? So it's a frustrating thing, and like that was part of the problem with like the mute Mozzie meta is that Thatcher's always banned, and like there's nothing you can do about it because like that's the only counter to mute Mozzie. Like there's nothing else to deal with mute Mozzie. So, but I think it's a frustrating thing. Like I think there should be an alternative to Thatcher, like a solid alternative, like all around, because it's just too easy to ban him. And then like Callie isn't an outright alternative. I feel like she is for wall denial, but that's not the only problem. Like I'd say dealing with ADSs with Thatcher is more important, or dealing with jammers on drone.
I mean, she's honestly better at getting shields than anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I know you can shoot it through the shield. Cool trick. But you can also just shoot it on the floor in front of the shield, and then people can't shoot it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But still, you run into one ADS and and one magnet, and all of a sudden there's all 3 of her charges gone.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We talked a lot about Melusi. Obviously, your concerns there. Ace, any thoughts that you guys have on Ace?
I mean, I like him. I can give my thoughts because I know his are going to be far more in depth. I like him. Frankly, I was a little surprised to see another hard breacher get brought in. I think it's great that we have somebody using the AK-12 as well. Though I don't really understand why they gave him that gun. I think there were worse guns to give him, given how much he brings with his gadget. I didn't like that everybody was complaining about how the meta was utility removal simulator. So then they bring somebody who's really good at removing utility, and they're like, oh, no, wait, not like that. And it's just like, come on, like I understand what they're saying, and I don't want it to seem like I'm misrepresenting their point. They just want utility down across the board so that you don't need to bring one operator. But I think in the meantime, it's easier to bring somebody who counters most of it, and then if they need to scale back the utility, they can always scale Ace back at a later date. I don't know. I like him. I think he's cool. I like what he brings. I like that he seems to be, relatively balanced outside of pro play. I don't think he's going to be breaking anything in, ranked or in even the amateur leagues. I think that there were some significant issues that people had with him based on play tests, and Troy can speak more to that. And I'd heard concerning things as well, but it seems like they were able to kind of pare him down between testing and release. I'm excited to see what he brings. I think it's cool that we have more hard breachers in the game. I do think with him being added, we can expand the number of bans. And I've discussed this at length, where I think there should be, the ability to protect 2 operators, then you ban 4 operators. Each team bans 2, and they can be anything. They can be attackers, they can be defenders. There's no real limits or limitations. Because I think now you don't have a valid excuse that, oh, we've only got, 3 hard breachers. Everybody's just going to ban them. I mean, maybe they do. And then it would be interesting to watch. Wasn't it like a Latin America Villa match where Liquid just did not run a hard breacher ever on Villa and they made most of their attacks win. So anywho, I like Ace. I like what he brings. I think he'll be a lot of fun to play. I think he's really good from a casual perspective, but how he's able to impact competitive play, I think still needs to be shaken out through scrim reports.
That protect an operator, I think, has the potential to be just as impactful as the ban, because you listen to Troy talking about the Thatcher. If you can basically guarantee you're protecting him, you're going to have a Thatcher.
Yep.
You can obviously pivot your strategies towards the fact that you're going to maintain the presence of this operator, which I think is really interesting. And other than that, I just basically agree with all your opinions on Ace. That's exactly how I feel about him. And it is curious that they gave this guy the AK-12 because he really didn't need it. They could have saved that for another operator coming down the line.
Frankly, and I'll just touch on this quickly, I think all the guns that they've given to operators have been kind of weird. Warden, I think they expected to be a little bit more impactful. I think Warden's loadout is atrocious. He has the SAS shotgun fine, but it's like, in my opinion, one of the best shotguns in the game is the GIGN shotgun. And it's like, but the problem is it's stuck on Rook and Doc. Like, give that shotgun to Warden. Why didn't you? Nook, they thought she was going to be too strong. They said at the playtest she was too strong, but like the FM, the FMG is in my opinion is garbage. I don't like it as a gun at all. I thought that was very weird. Oryx being given the MP5 without ACOG is a weird choice in my opinion. Giving Melusi the T.
You realize how bad that gun is when it's on Oryx and you don't have an ACOG attached to it. It's crazy.
And they have nerfed it a couple times to be fair, but giving Melusi the T5, like with all that she brings in her strength, you're giving her a great gun that's a laser beam, and now you're giving the AK-12 to Ace. It's like I don't really understand why they've given these guns to these new operators, because it's like you could very easily give Ace Jackal's PDW, for example, and I think he'd still be fine, even though it's a much worse gun. I don't know. I'm very confused as to why they're giving. I mean, they must have some thought process behind it that I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't have given half. I wouldn't have reused these guns on half of these operators. I think they're kind of goofy choices, because somewhere down the line, if they release an operator that's kind of underwhelming, or they have a gadget that they don't think is the greatest, give them the AK-12. Like at that point, you're giving them the best gun in the game. Like, sure, you've already done that now on Ace, so it's kind of like
give them the UMP.
Do you think it could be to bait people, or not bait people, but to get people into playing the operators that have the guns originally? It wouldn't work with Warden, but at least with Ace, maybe can pull more people on Fuse, and with Nook, maybe it could pull a few people to run FMG on Smoke. I mean,
you got to run the shotgun on Smoke, though. You're crazy not to, right?
In competitive, sure.
I think in anything, frankly. I mean, if you're playing Smoke down at like bronze and you don't, but the FMG is not fun. It's fun blasting people with shotguns up close.
It is the second best. Wasn't it the second best performing? Or
it's a top tier defender weapon. Yeah. It's a top tier defender weapon. I'll say that.
Attack, this gun was up there.
Yeah. We all know how those stats play out, Alex. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
that's surprising.
It is absolutely.
You gotta accept that.
But it's attached to an operator whose only job is to kill. You know what I mean?
But isn't that kind of the point? If you can move around unseen and she has the R4C, that would be way more terrifying.
I mean, yeah. The problem is that it's like when I play, I fluctuate between high gold to mid plat, right? Mm-hmm. Which should be like, with the exception of Pro League, should be like the top of the top, pretty much all the way up to champion. On a normal ranking scale, there shouldn't be that much of a difference between like mid plat to the top levels. Like if we look at all the other games, you should get to see some parallels. You see very little parallels, let's be honest. You watch Golds play and then you watch Pro League and it looks like two separate games, right? Mm-hmm. The amount of times where it's just like a Nook or a Cav can just absolutely dominate a game because you've got 4 jackasses that don't use their microphones and don't use their headphones or their speakers or their ears or their mouth. And next thing you know, we're 25 seconds into the round and there's already a Nook in the middle of the site and she's killed 2 people. I mean, I do kind of agree. It doesn't really matter what gun she has. That play style is what's getting you killed, not the weapon. Yeah, if she had the R4C, probably be doing a better job, you know, but at the same time, like I think it's a bit deceptive because you could give her the SMG 11 as her primary, and I still think she'd be racking up those kills personally. So I don't know.
No, I agree, but I think that's a good reason to give her an underused gun.
I mean, the
one should definitely have the
FMG
JDM,
is
that's good.
I also have like this galaxy brain where it's like I think they messed up by giving the Team Liquid skin to the FMG way back in the day. I think I have this conspiracy, this conspiracy theory where I feel like when Team Liquid got their original skin in the very first pilot program, Team Liquid intended for it to be on the SMG 11 because Nesk plays smoke, and then they put it on the FMG because my guess is they probably were just like, yeah, smoke's SMG, thinking, well, no human is going to think FMG. It's going to be the SMG 11.
Oh,
and they gave it to the wrong skin, and they're like, we got to get this thing back in. Let's give it to Nook, and then all the ranked stars can run her. Because, I mean, I'm being honest with you, almost every Nook I see is running the liquid skin on that FMG. So, I mean, it worked. It worked. If it's a conspiracy theory, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
You
But
don't
it
have to be
worked.
Galaxy Brain to figure out that it was a mistake that went on that gun.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think an org as big as Liquid is like, hey, let's use a gun which is never, ever, ever used.
There is
No one
no
wanted
team
that
that
gun.
goes out and says we want the skin on the FMG.
Yeah.
No chance.
No one.
No way.
So
So-
that has to be a mistake. I don't think I don't think they implemented.
No,
the
no,
gun on
Ubisoft
Nook
definitely
only
made that
for
choice.
that.
They're like, give it to Nook so that they can wear the skin. I know.
we
it.
need a liquid skin on this one.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
I-
Troy was
yeah.
going to give his opinions on Ace, but I.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to say. One of my main concerns was that I'm pretty sure it can still happen. His first charge, though, it can go off without getting bandit tricked. Like, just you don't have enough time to react. And I will say, I don't know how problematic that is. So I'm not going to make like a huge deal. But it is weird to me. I guess like just because bandit tricking's been a thing for so long, and I feel like that's such a simple solution to deal with it. But I will say Thatcher's like always banned. So to get rid of the batteries or mutes pre-placed on the wall anyways, you probably had to do something that would have gotten rid of a bandit tricker anyways. So it might not be that bad. But it's a slight concern. I guess have to see how that plays out. But I mean, for the most part, I think he's all right. I think he's a good additional hard breach. I don't think he'd ever really be your main hard breach. He might be on some maps, but I don't think it all works too often. Just because like he doesn't excel at opening hatches like Cabana, and he doesn't excel at opening walls like Thermite. So I think he'll be like more of a secondary one. And one of the nice things is that he doesn't need to use all his charges to open walls because he can use them on shields and bubbles. And I will say that is nice.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really, really that I'm excited about is, and I think that is where his strength is potentially is his ability to not only deploy from distance, but to deploy really fast. So you think about a consulate garage wall. Boom, boom. There's 2 charges on each. I mean, technically you could do 3. Boom, boom, boom. There's 3 charges on each of these 3 panels. Bandit might trick one, and then it's going to open up 1 hole, and then the next one is going to open up 2 holes. That third one's probably going to open completely. I don't know how realistic that is to actually go down like that, but I do think like you look at like Villa. If you're studying on Study Balk, I can throw 3 of those real quick on 3 walls right there. Yeah, they might impact trick 1 or 2 of them, but they're not going to get all 3 probably. So I think that's one thing that really excites me. I think that right there is going to take defenses, and they're going to have to take that into account. And that's really something that's going to like move the way that the game's played in a different direction.
Agreed. I
Over
think
to you,
it'd be
Troy.
interesting.
Let's see it being pushed forward.
Yeah,
Push
I mean,
them.
I think it'll be interesting. I'm like, I don't have any predictions yet. I'm very bad at figuring things out before I get into the game. Like, I'm not one of those people that like theory crafts a ton and like has like, oh, this will be the strat. Like, I mean, okay, the Melusi lineup, I think that'll be the lineup. I will say. I'm convinced on that one. But usually I'm not like big on theory crafting. I'm a lot more reactionary, so we'll have to see how it plays out and kind of go from there. But I do think Ace will be interesting, and I think it's good change. I mean, I like having a strong attack. right now, attacking is frustrating, and having a strong attacker is nice to me.
What
I was
about
a
I'm
little
okay
from
with the
reception
pendulum
on
swinging
that.
the other way and having strong
Yeah.
attacks. I'm tired of defense being really
Yeah.
strong. The only attacking meta that we had that was successful was Lion. And that was
Glashing.
bad for
Glashing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want take
Glaz.
two. Take two.
Remember, you've got Yana coming, so
Yeah, I'm excited to
Yeah.
see that.
yeah.
That's the
Tori.
thing. Like, I'm really excited to see Yana. Like, this Pro League season is actually going to be insane. Think about everything that's changed since the last time they were playing Pro League. Ying, completely different operator. I mean, well, in my opinion, she's got 3 more. She has 2 more deployables now with the smokes. I mean, that's a huge change. Amaru is going to come right in, right? We haven't even talked about Amaru. Amaru received a huge buff. And so Amaru's coming straight into Pro League. You're going to have Yana and Oryx introduced. Like, there's so much new stuff in Pro League. I cannot wait to watch.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
on the attacking side, you're not going to see any of that unless some team is willing to ignore the fact that 20-second meta is currently a thing. Because like that was the whole conversation we had about the 20-second meta last time was a team needs to go out and choose to take the gamble that they do not have enough to deal with what is there, and then just stick with some sort of plan. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. If it
That's
works,
the problem with Ying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they might create something insane, but
What
they
do you
might
mean?
also
Can
look
you-
like the laughing stock of Siege.
Can you elaborate on that, Troy? I don't know what you meant by that. The problem with Ying.
Basically, just the fact that she doesn't bring something to deal with like the Jaeger with my stack.
So as strong as she is, you still can't necessarily justify her in your lineup because she doesn't just have self-destruction.
It's hard to fit her in.
Wow.
I will say, like there's probably going to be some teams, like Alex is saying, like they'll have their strat and they'll have their idea with Ying and they'll probably run her anyways. And I do think it can work. Like there's definitely some sites where you won't get punished as much, and I think some teams might be able to find that sweet spot where they know the right sites to run her or the right maps to run her. But as like a universal consistent lineup, it is hard to fit her, I think, just because you need to bring like a certain amount of explosives, a certain amount of flashes, and your heart breach, like in the standard, like all-inclusive kind of lineup. So it is hard to fit her in that case, because you always like you want to maximize the explosives and flashes because you need to give yourself wiggle room to in case someone dies, in case someone misses a flash, in case like because it's you mess up, like it happens, and it's very easy to die while throwing a flashbanger. It's very easy, like just for defenders to get aggressive and get an early pick, and you can't really account for just playing your round perfect. So you do need to give yourself that wiggle room, and if you play Ying, like you don't have that wiggle, and I think that's like that even goes back to like the old Ying Glass meta, like your counter to it. Oh,
We lost Pete.
lost Pete.
Oh, Pete.
Dude, I mean, I wonder if it's the same thing. Literally, we're just in the middle of talking, and then all of a sudden, my Discord just crashed, and it would not reconnect. It kept saying failing to connect to server, but my internet was fine. So,
It's the Rona.
But yeah, the
No
old
idea.
counter to that meta was just like you get aggressive on it early, right? Because at least before, one of the big things was that if you're bringing Ying and Glass, like those are on 2 of your like fragging rolls. So teams usually with that they had like a Thatcher and a Heart Breach or 2 Heart Breaches, something like that. So Ying and Glass are like 2 of the people entering, and they had weaker guns. So you would try to fight them early and pick them off, basically. You would deny
That was a fun
them.
thing with that meta. It took people so long to figure out that the thing you had to do was play super aggressive because if they get to
Yes.
execute, you lose.
Yes, that was the thing. And I will say, like, our team was good at the Ying Glass meta because we were good at abusing it, and we actually didn't get punished by it a ton on defense because we just said we're not going to let you execute, basically. And like that was just a conscious decision we made. Like if you were going to run that, we were going to make it really difficult for you to execute, or at least to execute 5v5 with full utility. But then Lion came out, and Lion changed that because playing aggressive when Lion's there sucks. It sucks. So Lion kind of ruined that. But I do think that with how Ying is now, that's kind of how it plays out. Yana, I believe.
Yana.
She's actually probably my favorite attacker. Like I love her
Wow.
because my favorite thing in the game is droning. So like when I like, oh my god, my teammates know it. Like I get so excited when I can pick her. Like coastline, I can pick her, or like when I can get off hard breach and pick her. Like I love it. I play ranked. I play her every round and I'm just like Fultz, follow me up, bro, follow me up, and I just send the clone in. Like I love it. So
Yeah.
she's a lot of fun. Some maps she can fit because she brings nades, which is nice. So some maps, if you're not doing like vertical play, you can bring her in place of like your sledge, or some maps, if you're not bringing like smokes, for example, you can bring her instead of like your smoke op, or she can even bring smokes. And then like if you drop your hard breach, she can bring in. The only awkward thing about her is that like if she's fitting into like that sledge or like one of those entry roles, right? Like her ability isn't used as well if she's not on a support player, right? Because she can't be the one entering. Someone else has to be entering, and the clone is going in. But there's some maps she's really good on, just because like she clears 10 times faster. Like if you think of like when you're clearing on Villa, if you're clearing from the master side over and you're attacking plane, like think about how fast she clears like master through deer and statue. Like she just flies through that. Normally you have to have your drone, you go through master, through the bathroom, through blue, into statue, back out, into deer. Whereas she just goes whoop and just runs through, and you clear it in like 20 seconds. Not even.
That's
You
interesting.
clear it so fast. And like there's other like consulate. If you do admin over, it's a bit more awkward there. You just have to get into admin first, and then you can just send her down the top floor and down yellow, and it's just super quick. So I think she's really interesting. I think she's a lot of fun too.
The fact that she drones from head height means a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's what people are forgetting. It's not on the floor. You don't have to like drive around a corner to check it. You just like elevating
look over
above everything. Yeah.
And also, like, I mean, it's 10 times faster than a drone. You're full sprint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan.
What gun do you use though?
ARX with grip. That thing is insane. I swear, I think I have nasty aim when I play that thing. Like I just start smoking people, and I'm like, wow, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
You're a madman when you're off the UMP, eh?
Yeah, man.
Pretty mad when he's on the UMP as well.
I was gonna say he's pretty sick when he's on it too.
He is old as fuck, though, guys.
I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the Maru buff, and with that, the G8 with angle grip. A lot of people saying that, including me, that angle grip needs removed from the G8, particularly on IQ and probably Amaru as well after this buff. But what do you think? You know, as far as you know, the Amaru buff and the G8 as a whole.
I mean, I love the gun personally. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even think it should lose the angle grip. I love it. It's just going to go back to how it was before, right? Just people won't use it again when it has vertical grip, just because the ADS time on an LMG is so slow. But I actually like, I'm glad people are catching on now, because I was saying it before Invitational. I was like, that is the new power weapon. That is the new F2. Like if you have someone that's popping off, like they're on the G8, and like I know at Invitational, I think like Muzi played it and he was popping off for a bit. Bolo was playing it. Bosco was playing it on our team. Like people were popping off of the G8, and it's just like the gun is so good. So I don't know. I like it. I think it's really fun to use, but I guess for the sake of balance, it probably should get a nerf. But I think if you take away the angle grip, though, it's just back to what it was before.
You just remove the gun.
Yeah,
like that's what happens.
I will say though, I guess maybe it gave like some people more exposure to it, and maybe they'll mess with it more now, but I'm not sure. I think it's too slow with vertical grip, so I don't think people.
The scary thing is when you put it on Amaru.
Yeah,
and
she's so fun
because
she is fun.
Super fun.
She's so fun.
You can fire your first bullet fully ADS 300 milliseconds after going through the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very, very fast.
Yeah,
like you gotta be hard pressed to have time to turn around and react to that.
Mm-hmm.
To figure out what made that noise, hearing the zipline going, okay, yeah, look at the hatch, and now she's there going brr for 30 seconds straight.
Yeah,
I mean,
I haven't ran into the armor, but I haven't ran into her much.
Would you say, Barry, you're going to be an Armoru main?
No, God, no. But honestly, like, I mean, I think the problem with Amaru is that I worry about these kind of operators like her and Nook, Cav to a certain extent that are just nothing other than fraggers, because I think when you look at the way that casual and ranked plays out, there's already too much of an emphasis on individual lone wolf style of plays. And I get that they add these operators because people are like that, but my problem is that when you start to add operators that don't bring any utility and are just there to kill things, it kind of empowers the part of the community that already plays the game like that, which I think is the wrong way to play the game. And I know that this isn't a popular opinion amongst the casuals and the ranked side, but it's like I said, at a high gold to low plat level where people should be playing as a team, people should have a pretty good understanding of how utility works and what you need to pull off a successful attack, etc. I still see in almost every single match half of my team running Ashe or Twitch or IQ or Nook, and it's just like they barrel into the site and then they get gunned down in the first like 30 seconds. They don't say anything. And I don't like, there's part of me where it's like, yeah, like Amaru's a lot of fun. Like I love being able to repel through windows and pull out the SMG-11 and, brr, brr, and then like things are dead. It's great. It's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, do I want to see more of that? Do I want that play style to be more prevalent than it already is? There will be people who will come out and say, let me play how I want. It's my game, blah, blah. If I want to play like this, that's my prerogative. And sure, but at the end of the day, you're setting your team at a huge disadvantage. And by making, Amaru as strong as she is, I get that it was the TS, but like Nook and Amaru were getting run on the TS like almost every single round. And people were just running in and providing absolutely nothing to the team. And it's, you look at where we are right now. If you play a defending team that actually knows what they're doing and you run an Amaru on your squad and they don't know what they're doing, that's one very crucial role that has now just won't be filled.
Yeah.
Because you've got an Amaru instead. So it's kind of irritating to me. I think it's great that she's like that, but if we start to see her more in ranked, I think it's just going to create a play style in ranked that's already unenjoyable to play with, against, and we're going to see more of.
But you're just hunting something that will never happen. It's the same in every game.
I know.
Right? In CS, again, in CS, people, and they'll buy every round while you're leveling up, right? Like they don't care if they can afford next round or if we have the eco. They'll just buy. The same in Valorant. The same in Siege. We can go all the way back to year one in Siege. We had the same thing. It's never changed. There's some people that want to throw responsibility away and just play and frag out. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it. I agree with you that there's a right and a wrong way to play Siege if you want to have fun or do it the Siege way. But I cannot get myself to say that if they enjoy playing like that is wrong in some way. The same thing happens in Diamond. Like it's no different in higher rank. None. Like you might get a good 5-stack team, but honestly, half of the games I play, there is at least 2 people that are fighting over who can pick the most aggro operator and get 1 kill within the first 20 seconds and then go and take a piss.
Yeah.
Like,
is that the problem though? Is because I agree with you, Alex, that like it's going to happen, but is maybe the problem in Siege how viable it is and how high of a rank you can get and how many rank games you can win with that attitude.
How do you want to gatekeep that? It's impossible.
Well, I mean, maybe you don't enable it by operator design.
Ashe?
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's a whole market as well
Bandit?
that want that. That sort of easier operator. Sorry.
Entire year one is based around this. Entire year one was like, so if we're complaining about utility now, barbed wire back then, and I think you would agree, Troy, barbed wire back then was not fun to deal with. You ass charged that thing.
Yes, it was
so when people say, oh, there's so much utility we have to remove right now, we had to ass charge barbed wire.
Yeah.
Right? And yet you still had your Ashe when you were playing rank going zoom.
Yes.
And then you went, can you come remove, like we need you to do this? No, I'm dead. Or I'm on site. Where are you guys? That will never change, no matter how hard we try. It happens in Dota. People will, like, you have 4 people trying to fight about who's going to jungle.
Yeah.
And
People want the hero plays, right?
Yeah,
No,
sure. But
it's gonna happen.
we're enabling it when we watch esport as well, right? When we're watching competitive, it's the guy who gets the 4K with Jaeger, where people are like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
No one sits there and thinks, dude, that smoke, who made the rotates and threw that one smoke grenade and never shot a shot. Damn, he's good.
That guy that was sitting on cams.
Yeah. That guy who was telling Jaeger to shoot left, shoot right, do this, do that, doesn't get the credit. So like we're kind of pushing for that as well, and we cannot. Like, I think this is my biggest pet peeve is competitive players expecting the casual community to play their game whenever they're playing. Like there's a reason football goals are smaller for schools and bigger for like actual football games. There's a reason we have different rules in Pro League compared to ranked. We can't expect them to invest the same amount of time or put the same amount of just heart into it when they play a game. They're playing for nothing but a few numbers that go up and down.
Yep.
Right? At the end of the day, it's fun. So it's hard when you see a pro player going, dude, the people in Champion are so bad compared to this and that. Yeah, the same happens. If you go to Global, Elite, and CS, those players are terrible compared to CS pros.
Yep.
They're really good compared to everyone else. Like, same in Siege. The people in Diamond or Champion are really good compared to Silvers. They really are. Massive difference. But if you get 5 random Diamond players to play against 5 Pro League players, it's the same difference between Silver and Diamond.
Yep.
They're playing different games.
It'll be the same. Like there'll always be like those high ranked players that'll have potential. Like and that goes for any game. Like the amount of times like I've heard about like some like solo queue Dota player that like made it just because like teams saw him and they saw he had talent. But like at the end of the day, it had to be a good team that recognized that he had talent, and then they had to bring him into that team and like give him experience and teach him. Yeah. And like it goes the same in Siege. Like there will be players like that, but at the end of the day, like people are gonna play like that. And I mean, the only way you can deal with it is just playing a 5-stack. Don't play with them.
We could also stop being mad at people when they play 5 stacks and strat.
Yes.
Because the Siege community has a horrible way of going, oh, these other guys are tryharding.
Yes.
What the
Yeah,
hell?
it's hard to watch streamers where it's like, a streamer will be playing and then they come up against a 5-stack that's sweating their ass off and full stratting, and they're like, what is this pro? And it's like, I'm just as guilty of it as well. Everybody is.
Look at these
like,
nerds.
Yeah,
I am too.
Like,
I immediately
droning.
have to recognize it, but like I don't play rank because of it, because like I can't play ranked as seriously. I just can't, just because I play that seriously all the time.
But I will bet year 1 or year 2 or whenever you started.
Oh yeah.
Because I know we all did.
Oh yeah.
I have sat and yelled and screamed in rank with what turned out to be 4 other pro players eventually down the line, getting so furious over the fact that we messed up one play, and we were going to play more ranked games after that because we were not going to do that again.
Yep.
Like, that was life before Go 4 and things like that started.
But isn't that sad? That's the way it should be, right? Like, and this is what I say. What I say regularly is, we should be, when we play ranked, it is, without going to external competition, it is the highest level of Rainbow Six competitive in the whole game, right? So when you get people,
will get, yes.
Yeah, and it's like so it's weird because it's like this like duality where on the one hand you've got me who goes on lots of podcasts and says, take ranked seriously, like it should be played a certain way, like don't pick operators like Amaru unless there's a strat around, like blah blah blah. But then at the same time I will also go on stream and I'll be solo queued and I'll get droned out 4 times in the span of like 10 seconds and then get caught in a crossfire and be like, the fuck is this Pro League? And then complain about it when it's like, when it's like earlier that day, I'm recording a podcast where I'm extolling the virtues of playing properly. And then moments later, I'm freaking out because it's like, I just lost a clutch moment in the greatest stage of them all. And it's like, it's tough. And a lot of pros, sorry?
It's good you recognize that, because it's like what Alex was saying earlier.
People hate complaining, and I don't want to lose. And I think, honestly, on stream, I think more than anything, the problem is expectations. I solo queue 99% of the time that I play on stream, which means that already I'm at an innate disadvantage against a team that is together and is coordinating, just period. And
you're streaming.
And you're streaming, and it's like, so number one, they've got the potential for an advanced UAV in the sky if they really want it. Unless I have a delay on, and even then, delays aren't bulletproof. I'm trying to entertain and moderate chat. If I need to address chat, I'm a very chat interaction heavy streamer. So for me, seeing what they're saying and being a part of that is my bread and butter. That's my priority. So obviously that is unfortunately for me and my teammates to a certain extent is going to take me away from the game. But then it's like, you've got 4 other people on your team. What's their knowledge and what's their experience? I would say that while mechanically I'm not a very good player, I would like to think that my game sense and understanding of high level play and the way that strats go up and the way that take, hold, map control, etc., is pretty high. Is it higher than my opponents? Is it higher than my teammates? It might be. In that case, there's a major imbalance because things that are intuitive to me aren't. I've seen plats double reinforce the garage wall from server/CCTV into garage and clubhouse and not ever rotate there. And it's like, you are in plat. You should understand why putting a rotate at the top of red or a rotate in there is really important, and you don't understand that. Like, am I wrong? Maybe. So it's hard because you've got like this pride when you're streaming and you don't want to admit that you just got outplayed. But it's like when you get droned out 4 times and they've got you pinned down in the bathroom at theme park and you're fucked and you know it and there's no way out. Like, there's a bitterness where you're like, they're better than me, but I don't want to admit it.
They're nerds.
You know?
They're nerds.
They're a bunch of nerds, and but that's the way the game should be played. So I think that Zoronik is absolutely right. We kind of need to expect casual players to play casually. And I think it's ego and it's hubris to assume that everybody's going to mimic what they see at the top level. And it sucks because I think that people play the game incorrectly, but who am I to say that, right? There's a lot more people that play the game incorrectly, in my opinion, than play it right. So just by numbers alone, maybe I'm wrong.
I disagree with you, but I understand. Yeah, because I don't want more snipers. I don't want more glazzies coming into the game because I just then have to deal with teammates doing that. So, like, although I kind of disagree with your original point about there is a way that Siege has to be played, because I think that would slim down the market to about 5% of all the people that play it right now, and it's good to have this wider fan base for the health of the game. So, like, I generally disagree with that, but I totally see where you're coming from because I have those thoughts all the bloody time. Like, even people I'm playing with, it's like, damn, man, why are you taking, like, let's play meta and let's, like, really try and win it. Why are we running these operators? But there is room for the people that do just want to fuck around, as long as you have the tools to counter them, and that brings us back to the crux of the Amaru thing, where the argument Alex was putting forward was like, actually, do you have time to respond? Do you actually have time to respond if she just appears like that?
Yeah.
My problem is the unranked ranked thing, because I'm 100% with you. People should be allowed to fuck around and just chill and do whatever they want, and no one should be able to tell them if that rotate hole is the worst thing in the world or try. It's just a game. But if you play ranked, you as a solo queue, and you don't at least do your best, you're actively screwing over 4 other people that are.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In all fairness, let's say it's normally 3 people that are messing around and 2 people that are actually really trying. And that's why there's so much toxicity in the teams, right? And no one gets along and no one wants to do the boring job on the operator. But if ranked was 5-stack locked and unranked was whatever you could do if you played alone, at least then you have forced that when you play ranked, there is an incentive to do your absolute best because you know the 4 other people you're going to screw over. I think that alone would change things. And then if we can start glorifying people doing good in ranked, instead of assuming that every single one that is running like a Monty and 2 players behind a Monty and a drone is sweaty tryhard trash.
Yeah.
Like, you have an ability to do something against those. There are counters. There are other operators. It's why we play Siege. You can destroy things and do fancy shit, right?
I mean, I still think Monty's stupid, for the record. I'd like that.
Sure.
I'd like that on the record.
We'll keep that on the record. I'll make sure to play Monty every time I meet you.
You were the original Thatcher ban, you monster.
Yeah.
You're the one who started this.
Actually, before Pick and Ban came out, I said I am only banning Thatcher and Jaeger for the rest of the time Pick and Ban is out, because those are the 2 strongest operators in terms of allowing people to do what they want.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that all of my gadgets do what I want them to do. And holy hell, do people know how to throw nades in ranked.
I cannot believe it.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
That's the thing about the
every
Jaeger.
round.
the Jaeger ban is dangerous.
Yep.
I will say, and that's why that one's not popular, is because
Mhm.
the other team just
better.
might. Yes.
Yeah.
Like you
gotta
have to
make
be
sure
in. The thing is you
can
don't
run more
know.
nades, and you gotta be better with nades.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do think someone did something interesting in the Open EU Clash, and I know was charity game, and you can't take anything from it, but they ran Monty and Glass, nades on Glass, and smoke grenades on Monty. That's a kind of terrifying combo in some situations, because Monty can push up, and if he needs help, he can smoke off, and you can have Glass push up. You got grenades for shields. Glass can see very, very easily who's behind the deployable, where they are. Like that was pretty fun to watch, and could potentially do some interesting stuff.
I
Because
can see it.
you can run the smokes on the Monty. Like you can gain a lot of ground really quick with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be possible without the nades. on
Yeah.
Glass.
Agreed.
We're starting to run out of time here. I do want to kind of go over the NA Pro League that was revealed yesterday as far as the groups and
NA
stuff
League.
like that. The NA League. My bad.
Yeah, they're not pros anymore. So.
Okay. So I
Not
think maybe
professional.
let's start out. Troy, would you mind kind of explaining the format to us, and then I'll read out the groups, what the exact groups are. But do you mind kind of like telling the viewers how is Pro League? How is it going to look in NA this season?
Mm-hmm. So 8 teams, and then we were selected into 2 different groups, Group A and Group B. And then basically the groups are like their GSL double elimination format, which is basically the same way the groups worked at Invitational or any majors in the past. So double elimination GSL format. The top 2 from each group move on to another group called the winners group. And then the bottom 2 move on to the losers. Now, in the winners group, the top 3 from there qualify for the next major. And then the 4th team goes and plays the top 2 from the losers group and the number 1 team from the Canadian. And then the winner of that's, again, another GSL double elimination group. The winner of that group also goes to the major. So 4 teams in total go to the major.
Okay. Wow.
It's easier with a
I made it.
diagram.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, I
Much
think that
easier
makes
with the
sense.
diagram.
You know, it's groups
that
like
YouTube
you're
video.
familiar with the Invitational, but it plays out and to decide who goes to the major, and that makes sense. As far as what the exact groups are, I have it right here. You've got Group A is Space Station Gaming, Disrupt Gaming, E United, Oxygen Esports, former Rec roster, and then Group B is TSM, Susquehanna Sonics, Dark Zero Esports, and the Tempo Storm. One other note that I would like to make beyond the groups is that there have been some cosmetic changes in that only Pro League uniforms and default skins are allowed in competition moving forward, which was I'm sure a welcome change to everybody. So general thoughts here, guys. Let's throw it open as far as any of those points go.
I mean, I'll go first. The cosmetic changes, so nice. I mean, I didn't know who I was killing for the longest time. I didn't. It was just, this guy was dead. It might have been Thatcher. It might not have been.
Can you tell a very good? I know you have a story from a game you and I played
Oh, yeah.
with why skins matter.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was the year 1 season 3 finals. And it was actually the way I called our strat was based on Bandit or Jaeger's shoes. We were playing Clubhouse, and this was when you only had to play 2 sets at the time. This was the old Clubhouse. So, I mean, like bar attack was basically free. So, like when they went basement, though, I would have my drone or my teammate's drone. We'd either go to the stock door or the front door. And on Zyronic's team, Playing Ducks, I think it was you actually that was the one swapping, right? Yeah, he always reinforced the blue hatch. And basically, he would either play Bandit or Jaeger. And if he played Bandit, it was to counter like the church wall. And if he didn't play Bandit, then the church wall was free. So basically, if I saw Jaeger's shoes, we did a church take where I would thermite the church wall, or we would thermite the church wall. And if I saw Bandit shoes, we would do like a blue and a dirt take because we knew we couldn't open church. And we literally would just call it off of that. And like that's why it matters. And like also just for callouts, like it can come into like just the most basic callouts in rounds. Like when your teammate calls like Zofia blue and then your teammate kills someone blue, like if he can call that it's Zofia dead, like that's huge. Because what if he kills someone in blue, but it's someone else? Now you know there's still another guy blue. Like that's literally, it makes or breaks a round. But then sometimes like you've got the call Zofia's blue, but then like Zofia was in some skin that doesn't even look like Zofia, and then you kill who was Zofia, but you thought it was like Dokkaebi or something. Like you don't even know anymore.
Or
right?
Buck, the Operation Outbreak or whatever. She and Buck looked identical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish it was forced to be default from the player perspective in competitive, but was forced to have skins from the spectating view.
So they
that
could
would be the
advertise.
best way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think, like, I don't know. For me, it doesn't matter. It's just cosmetics in a video game. So I don't really care from a viewer perspective, but money cares, right?
Yeah, and seeing the elites.
And I think, yeah, I think
true.
pro players should I'd actually even be okay with them forcing the skins on the players so they could like showcase different ones.
the spectator could
or the-
choose like whatever
Yeah,
skin he could just. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, so like the Pro League teams could be forced to have their own skins on. So from the spectating point of view, like Navi Doc will always be forced on when they play, and there's nothing else that they can impact or choose. Or they can set up their own characters, and they will look like their own characters for the spectator, but in game for the competitors, they will look like base default or elite version max of those operators. Maybe not even elite, to be honest, because some of the gadgets look different. I'm not a pay-to-win fan. I don't think we have that in Siege at all. But the Twitch drone, that matters.
Yeah.
Like, that legit matters if you have the Twitch elite or not. And then you can say if you're playing Pro League, you can get the Twitch skin. That's not going to be an issue. But maybe when we have 100 operators and every one of them has an elite and all the gadgets have two different ways of looking, maybe it matters then. That's probably my biggest fear. Competitive should be bare bones, clean, no outside or random effect from cosmetics or any of that stuff.
You've already got that stepping over with the weapons being reused, so you got the audio. So just have I think it would be cool if it was just the OG uniform, and then like your idea about the spectator, whack on the elite skins or whatever. Maybe they're running a deal in the shop for certain elite skins. Put them in. It's a little window. Plus, it makes it sort of visually a little bit more interesting for the spectator, right? But if you just run with like the OG skins, it's at least I would assume the pro players know what they're looking for then.
Yeah.
I also think the kill feature show the logo of the operator.
Yes,
Because
that would
you
help.
mentioned you don't know what you killed, but on the other hand, if you kill me, I know who you are,
Yeah.
and that's not
Yeah,
fair.
I agree with that.
You shooting me through a wall, and me getting a kill flash, knowing what operator you are, can help my team more than you killing me can.
Right.
Possible.
Knowing the operator can actually give more info than just getting a kill and not knowing who it is.
Yep.
And I don't think there should ever be a situation where you can get a kill for your team that gives away information that you didn't get back.
Yeah. Like there's been so many times that literally like I've called like a rotation or something based off the fact like let's say we know Vigil was roaming and like the whole round we're playing like scared that Vigil's still out on the map basically. And then all of a sudden Vigil gets a kill on site. Like now we know the whole map is free. Like literally instantly I'm like the map's free, like take everything basically. And like now we can flood some different part of the map. We can pressure everything now. Like
And that one you can base off the gun. Like the gun icon. But now we have a lot of reusable guns, like some of them actually have the same picture, even though they're not the same gun as well. But you got like 3 MP5s, right? That are the same. You don't know if it's Oryx, Doc, or Rook, and that could really matter. Like you have to worry about someone jumping up a hatch. So just put the icon next to, so no one ever has to doubt if it's this operator with that weapon. It could be Valk or Warden with an MPX. Right? Like, that's pretty big if you know if they have a Valkyrie or if they have a Warden.
I actually literally lost a round yesterday in a scrim from that gun thing. Like, my teammate got killed by Thatcher off site. I'm not going to lie. So, part of it was the fact that the team that we're playing against, they swapped their roles. So, like, a player that usually plays Sledge was playing Thatcher. And then Sledge was in the site. I killed Sledge in the site, and then I remembered that like my other teammate died to this guy offsite. And then, but I thought I killed that guy because it was this guy with an L85, and I thought he was Sledge, and turns out I get shot in the back because Thatcher was behind me still. But yeah, like it plays a big effect for sure.
I talked about this actually when I'd originally gotten wind many moons ago of them reusing weapons. I said one of the things that sets Rainbow Six apart that isn't like Counter-Strike, isn't like Call of Duty, is that it doesn't really matter what weapon you're using in those games, like because usually there's no identity around the operator, the hero, the champion, whatever you're using. It's not really that big of a deal. But when you hear a gun, the gun sounds are so distinctive, you know immediately who you're going up against. You hear, the T95 or the L95, it's like you hear the L85, you know. So it's like if there's a Ying on the board, the L85, it's like, oh, it's a Sledge or a Thatcher, but it's like the G36C is distinct, and my argument was, now that you're adding weapons that are on both attack and defense, when you hear a sound, let's say you've got an IQ and they've got a Wamai and they're both running the AUG, you don't necessarily even know who's shooting at this point. You don't know if it's your teammate attacking somebody or if you're under attack as well. And then on top of that, yeah, I mean, you've got guns that all kind of sound the same. And now as the game continues to grow, we're down to one operator a season, which is good, but they will presumably still have reworked weapons, right? So this problem's only going to get worse. Adding the operator in the kill feed is perfect. I've also been a long proponent of getting rid of 6-pick, which I know Canadian vehemently disagrees with. I would like to see the game balanced to the point where you don't need to sneak in operators on 6-pick. What I would like to see is just get rid of 6-pick, get rid of reveal phase. Go to however, 10 operators on the board, and then maybe even a minute into the round, a minute and a half into the round, it just reveals all of the operators if they haven't been droned out, because why not? Like, who cares? At that point, the jig is up. I think that it's less competitive integrity to kind of spoon feed which operators are which, but I don't necessarily agree that they need to be hidden. And I think it's a tough conversation to have, because it's like, on one side, I see the benefits of keeping it hidden and all that jazz. But on the other side, it's like, I see what is already an overwhelming game that is already confusing. Guns are confusing. It's getting harder to understand and hear what operators are which. And if we can take steps to fix that, whether it be showing the operator icon in the kill feed or other methods, I'm going to end up being in support of that.
You know what
I've
else
got an
that would
idea.
open up? Oh, go ahead, Pete.
Just really quickly, one of the reasons with the licensing issue, with constantly putting in new weapons, right? And also, I imagine it creates a lot of work with creation of skins. So what about, okay, recycle the weapons, but give it a slight variant name. So it's the UMP 45, UMP 9, UMP 45-2, and then just record slightly different audio. Maybe have a slightly different audio play, so you can reuse the gun. The gun model is identical, but just a tiny change to the audio. That would seem to me to be quite a nice way around that, which sort of fixes the problem.
Yeah.
I think it would help. Yeah.
The operator icons in the kill feed, though, would open up the door, in my opinion, to remove the dead body ragdolls as well.
Just remove dead bodies.
Yeah, you can. But I mean, the argument, the only gameplay argument you can make now is, well, that's how I tell who I killed. Is their bodies laying on the floor or whatever, which I still disagree with. I think that dead bodies should be removed as well. But I really think that would help make the case for why you don't need dead body ragdolls anymore in this game.
But it should leave a print on the floor.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You can't kill someone and then go into the room and all of a sudden that guy isn't there. You're like, wait, did I wallbang him somewhere else? What happened?
Right. Valorant does that. I think
Yes.
with that option, it's I like how they do it. I think that's a
Yes.
perfect situation.
I want to see it like a homicide murder tape on the floor,
The chalk
Just
on
the
the floor.
operator
That'd be
icon
great.
just printed like a spray on the floor where they die.
All right. So, anything else you guys want to talk about as far as Steel Wave or the new Pro League format?
I have
You
one.
can talk
question
about the
for
talent.
Troy.
Yeah. Go
What
ahead.
did you say? What did you say, Alex?
I have one question for Troy.
Yep.
What do you think if you had to stick with 5 operators in a lineup? You pick your map, pick 5 operators. Both teams can't change until the map's over.
I think that'd be interesting.
That is my dream siege would be that
well-
you had to stick with a setup because it opens up for you to plan if you want to work on a lot of sites or if you want to be really strong on some, and you really gotta come up with some fancy stuff.
My only problem with it is that it can be very, like, well, again, this is something you'd have to see how it plays out because people would have to like optimize things. But this is like partially why I don't like the idea of getting rid of 6-pick phase is because, like I said, like the stacking of certain things. So one of the reasons like you kind of almost need 6-picking right now, like the biggest one is just IQ, because you don't want to bring IQ at all if they're not stacking Echo Val, right? But if they are, you need her. And that's, I guess, like one of the initial problems could be like, if they're not bringing Echo Val, can you bring IQ? Like, that's a waste of an operator for a whole game. Not a complete waste, but
Yeah,
like,
it's a gamble.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I mean, and it can go the same way where if the other team does bring Echo Valk and then they do bring IQ, now you can never swap off. Like, I feel like you can get too easily punished. Like, I like the idea of just being able to fluidly adapt. I guess just in the current state of Siege, I'd be skeptical of it, but I do think it's an interesting idea.
I just love to see how it pans out because I think we would see a completely different meta and style of play because you'd have to have such a well balanced lineup, and if you didn't, it would be like there's no way you're not running at least 2 shotguns.
Yeah.
Like at least a sidearm and a primary.
Yeah.
on defense.
I guess I think like attackers would have to be like individual attackers would have to be stronger. That way you could have a more well-rounded lineup. Because the way it works right now, I feel like, is that you have like a specialized lineup rather than like a well-rounded one. I'm saying, like it's specialized in either dealing with all the explosives or indestructible gadgets rather, or it's specialized in execute if you bring like smoke heavy, like Yang and stuff like that, or specialized possibly in like roam clear if you bring like a Jackal and like an Ash or a Jackal and a Dokkaebi or Jackal and Lion, like combination of those, or you can bring an IQ and Thatcher and maybe it's more specialized in dealing with vision. But then defenders could bring like a well-rounded lineup, right? Like you could still bring Valk, Echo, Lamai, Jaeger, Smoke, and that's 2 shields, all those ADSs, and the vision. And now all of a sudden it's a lot for the attackers to deal with. So I just think I think attackers would have to get buffed in certain areas where they could like be more universal and be able to deal with things. Because right now you need to have like a specific lineup almost to deal with specific things. So with some tweaks, I think it could work.
Yeah, otherwise you'd start to need doing like force rolls where you can only have set amount of intel operated, but that also like then we're changing into Overwatch.
Yeah.
Or we don't want to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep siege.
But I do like the idea. But yeah, I think we would need some tweaks to make it work because otherwise I think it could get a bit frustrating.
I just want to see it someday in a charity tournament or something. Just
give
it a
run.
Be
cool.
And see what happens.
It'd be really cool.
Definitely.
Parker, did you want to talk about the talent? Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, EU announced their talent lineup today as well. Congratulations, Alex.
I actually didn't see that.
It was announced today. I mean, let's start with the NA talent. I'm planning on doing like my own podcast to kind of go into my own thoughts on why I arrived in North America versus why I didn't stay in Europe. Because it was not an easy decision. And I will be very upfront about that. I was extremely torn with my head in one direction and my heart in the other direction as to what region I wanted to be a part of. And honestly, just, to cut the whole story short, the whole COVID pandemic situation kind of tipped my hand towards NA. Because it really put into perspective family for me and wanting to be closer to family and, having spent the last almost 3 years on another continent, many, many time zones away, a couple different flights away because it was almost never a straight shot, and getting home was a hardship. And, in that time we've had to put down family pets. My parents are getting older. My grandfather's old. I've got friends that are now having kids. They're getting married. I've missed a lot of birthdays. I've missed friends moving. I've missed bachelor parties. I've missed weddings. Those are significant and, like historic moments in my life that are never going to come back. And I don't really want to miss them anymore. So for me, all of it just kind of got put into perspective, and I ended up going with North America. I think both regions are really well served. I don't think there's going to be a stronger or a weaker region when it comes to the way that the show is going to play. I will say this. I think that, unfortunately, the inability for us to have a very deep talent lineup is showing right now, with the fact that most of the EU talent is relatively new and have never had tier 1 casting experience within Rainbow Six, in large part because some of them are newer to the scene, in large part because we only really had 4 spots, and it was Milo, Shemzo, myself, and Kix, right? There wasn't enough Rainbow Six Siege to go around. And I think that now the fact that there is a whole region of EU that is now going to have EU-based talent to flourish and grow is excellent for Rainbow Six. For the NA side of things, I'm super pumped to work with the people we're working with. I mean, I'm biased, but I think we got the better talent lineup here. Sorry, Zeronic. There's certainly people I would have loved to have worked with that are in EU that I would have loved to have either worked with in Europe or in North America. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm happy to be closer to home. I think that there's a lot of growth potential for both regions. I know that in NA we've got a lot of plans. I intend to be quite hands-on with trying to guide content and the way that casting and presenting and all that happens, because I would like to be somewhat involved with growing the brand and growing other casters and growing, you know, our content and our scene in North America. And I think the fact that eventually it will be going to LAN is massive. There's going to be so many opportunities to do interviews, to do content pieces, to do funny videos. It's really just whether Yubi and Faceit are going to be keen to do that. And I very much hope they are. If they're not, then Troy knows all well, we can just do it on our podcast. So as for EU, it's nice to see some great faces. It's nice to know that there's going to be people getting experience that they haven't had before. I will say, I don't know why Ace isn't involved. I think that's a mistake. I think Ace is an exceptionally talented caster. I think he and Dez, no offense to anybody else, I think he and Dez together make up the best pairing that you could have asked for EU. And the fact that he's not involved is a colossally missed opportunity. I don't know whose decision it was. I don't know if it was his. I don't know if it was Faceit's. I don't know if it was Ubisoft's. I think it's a mistake. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I really wish that we had seen Ace and Dez continue together. I hope at some point he gets brought on. You don't know. But other than that, that's really the only misstep, if you even want to call it that I see out of all these talent lineups.
I reached out to Ace, and I'm pretty sure it was not his decision. I think I can say that.
That's what I read. I read online as well that he wanted to be a part of it, and was just the thing I read from somebody involved with the EU talent lineup said that they said this publicly. They said he just wasn't contacted, which to me is a head scratcher, a very large head scratcher.
I would agree. Like literally the first thing I was about to say it, but I didn't want to comment because I wasn't sure if it was like his decision or not. Like I just looked through while you were talking, and the first thing I thought was like, wait, where's Ace? Because I fully expected him to be in there. So
I'm confused.
That's a bit disappointing to hear. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I'm not happy with it. I will say that.
I love the two of them at the Invitational as a pair. I think they work really well together. And I mean, yeah. But like you said, I'm excited for the fact that there's more opportunity for casters to grow, because I agree. Like there wasn't enough space. Like the whole time in this game, it just felt like we didn't have that many casters, and a big part of it was just like, we have 4 spots. Just like that was it.
I mean, not even that. It was impossible for people to grow into it, right?
Exactly.
Because, like, even though if there was only 4 spots, that even if they did smaller tournaments, they would never be able to afford enough time to do it, because there's no pay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we had like the minor series, and the problem was that I will kind of reveal what we had fought for with ESL Polska. We had asked, can we expand casting talent? We had asked, can we get a stage host? We asked, can we get a desk host? Can we at least just get in like an analyst portion and go up to 6 people instead? Number one, we could rotate. It would be much better for our sleep schedule, especially after we pushed towards having the permanent super weeks, where when we originally signed our contract, it was for 3 shows a week, of which we would rotate. I would do 1 show a week with Kix, or we would do 2 shows a week. The other duo would do the remaining. But then we just expanded to 6 shows a week where we were guaranteed to do 3. Well, it absolutely murdered our sleep schedule and was probably like professionally the worst year of my life, because it's like you're living on 3 time zones over the span of 4.5 days, while also living in a city where everything closes at 9:00 and everything is closed on Sundays, one of the only days you have off. You're also trying to have some semblance of a normal sleep schedule, and you kind of want to enjoy the sunlight. Doing all those things at the same time was fucking impossible. And it was an amazing job, but we basically asked, like, can we bring in even 1 or 2 people? You know, like bring in Flynn at the time, like bring in Demo, bring in Sternab, anybody just to like help us out. And we were basically told like, no, there's, you know, we're still on the same contract. There's no budget. Unless you guys take like a pay cut, there's no way that we're going to be able to do this. We were pushing to try and expand the numbers. It just wasn't there. And like, that's the big thing. Like the thing that I'm most hopeful for, sorry for my dogs, by the way.
It's all good.
The one thing that I'm most hopeful for is that, good God, they're loud. Is that we continue to see minor events get proper casting done. We had the Allied Esports minor, we had DreamHacks, you know, we had what do we have? OGA Pit, and we had a couple, like we had Benelux and stuff like that. But yeah, Zeronic's right. The pay was garbage for most people. You know, they weren't expected to actually do all that much. There wasn't really any guidance. And having 2 to 3 events a year for the non-core talent is nowhere near enough to give people proper experience. You know, we're not CSGO where we've got like multiple circuits where you're getting huge amounts of on-air time and you can travel and be a part of a scene. You're just on a lower level. We didn't even have that. So I'm really hoping, the one question that hasn't been answered, I'm really hoping that we still do kind of have a minor league scene, like something that replaces the Allied Esports minor, DreamHack, etc. Because I do think those are really good for growing talent.
Just on a personal level, I was just going to ask you, where are you both based? How does are you in Canada then, or are you sort of closer to home? And Alex, are you going to be moving to Paris or?
No.
Okay.
My one requirement was that I wouldn't be forced to move. I'll fly forth and back as much as might be needed, but I do not want to be away from home for more than 4 days straight, unless it's for a big event. It's simply just not worth it for me. Family, apartment, pets, everything, streaming.
Economics of it too, to do your streaming and everything.
Well, I mean, the economics of it is just asking for more money if that's what they wanted to do. But like, I'm not moving to do something like that. And if that was gonna happen, it would have to compensate everything, right? So a new house, we own the house here, new car there. Like if a move is requested, then I don't want to uproot my life unless it's being replaced.
Sure. But are some of the team going to be in Paris then?
I think some are going to travel there, yeah.
Right, okay. What about you,
when
Parker?
the whole Rona thing calms down, because I don't think anyone is traveling anywhere right now, at least.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that as well, about the LAN events and stuff. I don't know if you guys have any info on that. Probably stuff you can't even talk about, to be honest. But yeah.
Say that again. You were going to ask about what?
Like the finals after, because obviously, I suppose I don't think there's anything official yet. Is there about that? What they're doing with that?
We only know that the first NA split won't be played on. Like, it was intended to be played on LAN, but now it won't be. That's as far as we know.
But from your perspective, you should be preparing, I guess, for the end of year finals, North American, to be potentially the same, I suppose, because the second wave and all that sort of business.
Yeah. We just
you just don't know. Yeah,
we don't know. I mean, I think the NA finals isn't until like December or something, right, Parker? If I'm not mistaken, because it's not until after the second split. So the first split is just for the major spot. So the major, that's the big one in question. Whether or not the major in August will happen, assuming it probably. But
yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Everything's up in the air, and I will also be honest. I haven't exactly kept a good look on what is and isn't public, so I haven't really talked about it because I don't actually know what has been released externally. There's been like this huge like just flood of information over the last like 2 months, and it's been hard for me to like which of it did I see in an email that I'm not allowed to talk about versus which of it was posted on Twitter.
That's right where I am as well. I don't know anything right now.
I was gonna do a stream tomorrow, probably before the podcast, or even maybe later today, depending on the time, just explaining what led me to go to the NA League, my time, with Poland, more specifics and work related stuff. That's what I was gonna go through. But I was going to sit down and do some homework and like look up, okay, what is and isn't public, so I know that I'm not accidentally leaking things. So I'm based in Toronto. I'm still here. I'm here until I'm not. My greater hurdle is going to be getting a visa. It's not even going to be when is the border open. It's not even going to be when can I move. In theory, flights are running to Vegas. I could fly tomorrow. But if, number one, what's the point of doing that?
Looks busy down there, Parker. Get down there.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not super keen to go to America right now, given the climate.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
The social unrest, the political unrest, the fact that there are states that are just totally and completely ignoring science and are getting overrun by COVID because for X reasons, I think is embarrassing, and I don't want to go down there. I'm very happy being up here where we're not doing amazingly, but we're certainly doing better. And it's nice to be close to home. That still kind of applies, that it's nice to be within, distance of family and friends. And, Toronto is only a couple hours away from some nice hikes, and which is cool. So, but I mean, I'm keen to get going. I just don't know when. Casting from home sucks. It's not fun. It doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel like there's any progress. It feels impersonal. It's really hard to get hyped up for matches. There's a lot of distractions. It's just it's the opposite, where it's like a lot of players love playing at home and say they feel uncomfortable on LAN. I mean, you have a lot of experience on LAN.
Complete opposite. I'm like you. I don't have the energy at home. But there's a lot of people who say that they love sitting at home at their own desk, at their own computer, and it's comfortable, and they're not nervous, and they don't have to play in front of an audience.
External hard drive works.
Yeah,
I have bad things to say about them.
That's fine, but I'm just saying, like, I hate casting from home. Like, I don't. It feels inconsiderate for me to get loud. There's neighbors. I am just like, it's not a studio. It's not the same thing. So, but I mean, I'll go to Vegas whenever the opportunity arises. Like I said, my bigger hurdle is going to be getting a visa, and that's something that I think Faceit and CSA are dealing with right now on when I can get a visa, because I just signed my contract like last week. Like I think I signed my contract like Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So they couldn't get anything started until it was signed. So now the real process has to begin. And given what's going on in the world, I imagine it'll probably be a couple months until we hear anything back about whether or not I can get a visa to move.
It's just one of those situations with what's going on around the world at the moment, and just spitballing. And I don't want you to comment because it might sort of like compromise you. But I mean, I guess LAN events could go ahead behind closed doors, like sporting events. Premier League this week is kicking off again. There won't be spectators at grounds, so I guess that's something that they could look at, because the vast majority of people that do tune in and enjoy it aren't at the venue, are they? Well, I mean, they are watching online.
That depends on travel restrictions. I'm pretty sure Brazil isn't nobody. There's a travel restriction on Brazil right now for the U.S. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's still in place. So
yeah.
I mean, that stuff.
Tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's too difficult to plan because some countries are allowed to travel to some countries, but not others.
Yeah.
It like for us to even try to just guess on what can and can't happen is pointless. There's so many things. And
what we need to do is what the UFC did. We need to have a fight island. A Rainbow Six Siege island.
R6 Island.
Yes, please.
Dude, we'll turn it into reality TV as well. This is Troy. Day 4, this is Troy. He's getting a bit upset. Fabian walks past.
Build a house replica, and that's where everybody plays in.
That'd be awesome.
Bartlett.
Yeah.
They have to live in Bartlett.
All right, on that note, let's wrap it up here, guys. Yeah. Thanks, obviously, Troy, Parker. Thank you guys for joining us so much. Again, guys, 6 on 6, it's their podcast. There'll be links down in the description. You guys can go check them out and follow over there. Again, weekly podcast, correct?
Yes.
You guys can keep up with them over
subscribe.
there. Thank you, guys.
Like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Follow Logic Bomb on YouTube.
And rate the podcast, bros.
Rate the podcast.
5 stars.
We
But
should
yeah,
make this regular, by the way. 2 podcasts come together, have a chat every few months.
yeah,
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, sure.
We
down
have
with
some
that.
we have some big plans, and I mean we want to have like round tables with content creators and pro players for events and new content, and we've got an overlay and system set up for 4 people to join Troy and I. I mean, there's 3 of you, so that works
Yeah.
very perfectly. So
Yeah,
we are more
yeah.
than happy to repay this gracious favor of which you bring us on your podcast. Very, very eager to repay it and have you on ours.
Well, thank you, and we'll definitely take you up on that. Thanks for joining us, Troy. Good luck this season to you and your team. Parker, good luck casting, and I know you're going to kill it like always. And I guess Alex, congratulations on getting included in the
guess.
talent lineup. And yeah, with that said, guys, we're going to sign off here, and we'll see you next week.
Bye bye.